Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Knoll, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that every day, each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. Now, with that said, I was supposed to start earlier and on the 20 mark, and I spilled coffee on the computer and on the keyboard. And anyway, I'm here. So I greet you all with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And many people are having trouble with faith and things these days. They're having trouble with their own personal feelings. They're having problems with government. They're having problems with the propaganda lies that are being told. They're having issues with, dialogue between peoples and races and, So one of the things that has been slapped in my brain the last couple of days as a topic for discussion is that how do we fix some of these things? How can we go forward? What can we do? Is there anything that we can do? So many of us have this feeling of, hey, Chloe, love you too. We have this feeling basically of helplessness. Yet the news reports about how the racial divide is and how white supremacy and how, you know the drill. So it's like, so how do we stop this? Is there any way we can stop this movement, this momentum of craziness, this momentum of propaganda? And in my musings and meditations and so forth, I'm like, so what do we do? What can we do? And it kind of came to me the other day. In a way, it was kind of silly, but, it made sense. It was like, in the universe, we're trying to bridge the gap in spirituality, in, human to spiritual. We're trying to, bridge the gap, as the saying goes. And so it's like, well, if we're trying to bridge the gap, do we know what the gap is? That's a question, right? Right there. We say, well, there's this great divide amongst Americans. Oh, yeah, but where does it lie? Alex, how do we bridge the gap? You know what I mean? Can we bridge the gap? Should we even try to bridge the gap? You know what I mean? So what should we do? Should we do anything? Should we just let these crazy peoples, make us crazy and all this other kind of stuff? Or should we, that would be one answer, should we do something about this? And that would be one. A lot of us say, yeah, we should do something. We need to stop this craziness. So, but Duggar's watching the moon. There's something out there today, I'll tell you, tonight. But anyway, hey, Johan, Alex, Chloe, did I miss anybody? Okay. So, but in this idea of what can we do, should we do anything, And I think a lot of us feel like we want to do something. We want people to understand that, I don't, for me, I don't feel racist. I'm pissed off at white people, black people, yellow people, green people, purple people. There's a few of them I'm a little pissed off about, right? It's not because of their color, it's because how they're acting or reacting to things, right? Come together, yeah. We should, but it has to be in a big enough mass. Well, Chloe, that's the reason for this conversation. What if there's not enough of us to, quote, change the world, but there's enough of us to build bridges on our local levels. So, but in that, wouldn't that change the world? So, we're looking at, people and that want to come together and build a bridge, but they want to build a bridge across the Atlantic Ocean. And let's be serious about that. That's a little overdoing it, right? So, but what if we make smaller bridges, like down in the Keys, for example, the Florida Keys? They got bridges from little island to island to island to island. It is sort of one big bridge, but it isn't. So do we break this up, but we still are able to bridge all the way to Key West in Florida, for example? I haven't been down the new bridges, but way back in the 60s, we went down that two-lane bridge that went to Key West, and a hurricane was coming. Let me tell you, that's some scary ass stuff out there. Let me tell you, being on a bridge in the middle of the ocean and nowhere to go except, you got two ways, but you can't turn around. I mean, anyway. So having been there, seen that, and it's like, but it's better to have the bridge, even with waves crashing over it, than to have no bridge at all and to get stuck in the middle of a hurricane on a tiny little island, that's going to be swallowed, by the ocean. So you say, well, how does that fit you and me? How do we bridge these gaps? And I think what we need to do is these gaps, we need to work on a smaller level. Instead of trying to build one great big giant bridge, which over the last few years, I think that's what we've been trying to do. The bridge is too big. And so everybody looks at it and goes, that bridge is too big. We're never gonna make it. We'll never build it. So, but if we make a bunch of smaller bridges and you say, well, we got this one done, and we got this one done, we got this bridge done, we've bridged the gap here, we've helped to bring people's awareness, So is it one great big bridge, or is it a bunch of little small bridges that we start ourselves? Okay. Alex says racist is in every race. Black, I know black people can be racist also. But that's not the main issue in the world right now. Right. Divide and conquer. I agree with you, Alex. Yeah, they're trying to divide us, but race is just one of them. Okay, just in that conversation. Okay, Johan. So, but anyway, so how do we do this? So, in spiritualism, you take things a little bit at the time. If you try to hack off too much, you might not understand anything about the universe. So the best thing to do would be like to go to talk to your neighbor, like has recently happened with me. We bridged 25 years of silence between us by simply having a conversation. Good night, Johan. So in this, can we fix this routine? I believe we can, and we just all should put our tiny little brains together and go, well, wait a minute, maybe there's a friend of mine that I have, argued with and we haven't spoke to in a while. Maybe there's a family member, like for me, meeting my family a month ago for the first time and so forth. And it's not that there wasn't any bridge, but there wasn't a bridge, that might freak them out, Alex. I mean, that might be pushing them too far the other direction. You know what I mean? But yeah, they need something to kind of like get their wacko stuff out of their brain. But to the point, though, if we argue with these people, if we fight with these people, then the fight continues. If we try to create dialogue with these folks, regardless of what the issue is, if we try to bridge that gap first with dialogue and go, hang on. Well, you white people, okay, all right, that's white. But what about you and me? Can you and me be friends? Well, you're a white person. Yeah, that's not my question. You know, if you say I'm a racist whitey, then I should not be even asking you to be your friend. You know what I'm saying? So you can bridge the gap by opening dialogue with people. You can't build a bridge unless people come together and agree on a design, you know? Politicians make it mandatory. So, with this understanding of the world, though, let us not forget that if we don't talk to each other, if we stop dialogue, if we um, meet, you know, hateful dialogue, and we meet it with yeah, our tiny little brains, you know, but um, if we meet it with anger, if we meet adversity with something else, and other than with love and compassion, then all you're going to get out of this is more arguing, you know? So there will be no bridge. There will be no trying to close the gap or anything. Now, that would be an interesting, wouldn't it, Alex? Make them take a DNA test and show them how mixed up they really are. I saw people that shocked, yeah, they half black or white and didn't know it right. I agree. But the thing is that of all the things that I've noticed in my lifetime is that when you have a conversation with people and you open up that dialogue between individuals or between, you know, uh, different factions or whatever it is, but if you have, if you open up a dialogue conversation, you know, regardless of how we feel or whatever, let's talk about something. Let's just sit down and talk and pick something that, you know, is well, the sun's out today. Yep, it sure is. Well, I can look outside and I've been watching the moon here, and well, it's almost full moon. Yep, I would agree with you on that. So find something you can agree on, right? And start there. And then you find out how many similarities you have, and then you can work on those things that are, quote, supposedly, and you might find out that the divide is nothing more than like a line in the sand versus a crevasse that are, you know, that goes down to the center of the earth. But having dialogue with people and, you know, and listening to them, even though you don't really like their opinion or you don't like their point of view, but you listen. You have, hey, Delaney, how are you, Miss Pearl? So, but having the dialogue, creating conversation that is, um, um, you know, that doesn't cause turmoil. You know, you're not going to start a fight. Well, you know, I'm white, but not my family wasn't racist. You don't start the conversation there. Okay, you start the conversation off somewhere else, and you slowly bring in this. If it's racism, I'm just using that as the example. I mean, it might be that, you know, there are those folks, like for me, I don't really like hip hop music. So, you know, but, you know, and they could argue with me that classical music is, you know, way beyond its time. It's no good. It has no value. And I would argue that, I'm sorry, but to me, hip hop doesn't have any value. I mean, so we could argue about this ad nauseum, right? But one of the things that we would both agree on is that we both like music. See, so you start there, right? So rather than start with what I like or don't like or whatever, we all enjoy music, most of us, at some point in this conversation, right? So if it's the hip hop thing, okay, well, I don't like hip hop music. All right. So, and I don't like classical. Okay. But we both like music. So that's a commonality. So you find something that's common between you, right? Betwixt you. And you start there. So whatever it is that they're trying to divide us about, um, you start someplace else, you know. You don't start on the hot topic. You talk and say, well, you know what? I really like that shirt you're wearing today. Or, did you get your hair done? Wow, that looks really nice on you. Even if you have to give it a little white lie, you try to compliment people, right? I think everybody loves reggae. Yeah, Bob Marley, yeah. So this idea, though, that, you know, someone would look at me and say, well, you're an old white man. Okay. But did you know my sister was married to a black man, and that, they have, I don't know what the word is, you know, biracial marriage kind of thing, or biracial child. They look more black than white, but to the point. So it's like, well, you don't know and you don't understand because you're an old white man. Well, but if you have dialogue with me and you find out that, well, wait a minute, I've had a lot of, black friends. My sister was married to a black man. I mean, so this idea that I'm just an old white man and I don't understand, well, until we have dialogue, you don't know the rest of my story. Unless I talk to the other side, whoever those people are, I don't know what they've went through or how they feel. So all of the bridge building begins with dialogue, with conversation. Without, well, I think that design is stupid. You don't go that way when you're trying to build a bridge. You go, well, this bridge is really big. And, the Romans built arches and these people, and we've got these new stuff. So, we've got these different types of bridges that we could build. So what, you say, well, so you go around the table, what kind of bridge do you like? You like a swinging bridge? You like this bridge? What kind of bridge do you like? So then you people start talking about their likes and dislikes. So, but you haven't chosen what kind of bridge to build yet. You're discussing what kind they like, and you bring it into the mix so people have dialogue. Well, why do you like the old Roman bridge? Why do you like this kind of? Why do you like a suspension? So people discuss this supposedly without anger or animosity. Hey, Michelle. So, but what starts is dialogue. Okay, we all agree we want to build a bridge. Okie dokie. Wait, we're unanimous in that. So, but where are we building it? Well, right now we don't really know. We're building a bridge to nowhere. What? Yeah, we're in this society, we're building a bridge to nowhere. Well, wait a minute. What do you mean? It's got to go someplace, doesn't it? Well, we're building this bridge for humanity. Okay, well, where's it going? Well, it's kind of etherical, Well, it's not going over a river, but it is going to bridge a divide. Hey, Tracy B. Nice seeing you too. Well, sort of in the chat room. Anyway, so, but this idea though that if we refuse to like build a bridge, or the hell with it, I'm just going to swim the river every time, or I'm going to get a boat and I'm going to swim, I'm going to paddle the boat across the river, and I don't give a damn about how anybody else gets across or bridges the divide, or you know what I mean. Don't care. I'm going to find my own way and screw everybody else, right? So, but then there are enough people who say, well, wait a minute, there's a bunch of us that want to get across here. What if we put our heads together? Again, first thing is that a collective will get together and say, hey, we have a common goal here. There's a commonality here. We need a bridge across this divide. Okay. Now, the first thing would be, well, can we build a bridge across the Grand Canyon? And you go, well, maybe that's a little, too much. But at the same time, you say, well, they built some bridges like the new one that's down by Hoover Dam. It's south of the dam. to take all the traffic off of going across Hoover Dam back in the day. I saw it being built, but I haven't been across that new bridge because they were building it when I was there in Nevada all them years ago. But to the point of this, it took a lot of effort, a lot of people dangling from high wire things across this canyon. And if you've never been there where Hoover Dam is and to see that canyon, it's like, oh my God. So, people had to scale and, hang from wires and things and stuff to build that bridge and put it together. They got more guts than me, right? But all these people got together and decided to build a bridge across this great big gorge, and it got done. So, can we build bridges across deep divides? The answer is yes. But we have to have dialogue, right? We have to come together and go, and there are some of us who go, well, I don't really like the design of that bridge, but I'll participate. I would, hey Barry, I would rather us build this other kind of bridge, but I see, everybody's in agreement here. I like to build bridges, so I'm gonna go along with it, even though my favorite bridge is something else. So we can make concessions, if you will, and go, well, I like building bridges, so just because you're not building the one that I like, the one you got ain't bad, and I do want to see it completed because I believe that a bridge should be built. So in this dialogue of bridges, where are we building this bridge at the moment? Is it a bridge to nowhere, or is it a bridge to somewhere? Well, let me stop and think about this. Yeah, there's a few bodies in that dam. Yeah, they say it's still curing, Delaney. And having been inside of it, it leaks. There's water coming in all over the place. It's crazy. Yeah, love can build a bridge. Now, so you can say, well, there's all these people that love bridges and we're going to build one. But then there are those who are like greedy and, they might love bridges, but they also love money. They also want to be the one on top. They want to be the one that their name is on the bridge, So there is a lot of who wants to build the bridge. What is their, reasoning for building the bridge? Is it to, bridge the gap, or is it to, I've got a trucking line and we need a shorter route across to, to get to California without driving across Hoover Dam. And I think this, new bridge over here, blah, 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 blah. So I'm all for the bridge because of commerce. Okay. So maybe your reasoning for wanting to bridge a gap, the race gap, for example, or the music gap, you just say, well, I'm going to mix hip hop with some classical music and come up with this, maybe possibly a new genre of a genre of music that incorporates hip hop with, guess what, classical, maybe Bach or Beethoven or Dvorak or something, So, but where does it start? It starts with an idea. It starts with, well, I have a love for music. It starts with dialogue. Well, I'm going to have this conversation. I can make this music on my own, but it would be nice to collaborate with some other musicians. So then the dialogue starts and the bridge begins to get built. So it is so possible in society. But to build the big bridges, to build the big dams, to build the big stadiums, regardless of what it is, takes a lot of effort, a lot of people on. But we can build bridges locally with the people that we know and family members by saying, you know what, every time I'm making this up, okay, I'm making this next part up. Well, every time my sister calls, I just, oh my God, here she goes again, talking about this stuff. And you go, here, all right, yeah, I love it. Yeah. And you look at the phone and go, holy Jesus, will she ever get up? I'm making this up. So if any of my relatives see this, I'm making this up. Okay. But it could be somebody else. So, but how to, so you've got animosity for whatever reason. She's calling you up and bitching about something and on and on and on and on. And it just grates against your last nerve. So you're not real happy. You know what I mean? So there's a discord there. The music isn't simpatico. So what do you do? Well, if you realize, oh my God, I've really been kind of offstandish to my sister. Again, I'm making this story up. Okay. But I've been out, I'm standoffish to my sister. Maybe I haven't, really listened. I've just let her ramble on. I haven't really been kind to her. I really haven't, tried to have dialogue with her. She calls me and just rambles on about stuff. And I say, okay, I love you, and hang up the phone. So what do? That's a gap, right? And the more you hate her calling or whatever the situation is, the wider the gap gets. So number one, we could say, well, listen, part of this is my attitude. And I need to change my attitude. In that, oh my God, it's my sister again. Or, oh my God, it's oh my God, it's an 800 number. I get so many phone calls every day that are not related to me in any way. They want to sell me something or whatever, right? So that, I just want to, there have been times when I literally just want to throw the phone across the room and go, y'all cut this out, right? But that doesn't do any good, right? My dear friend Marcia, before she passed away, she was telling me all these people that call me on the phone, and I just call them up and bitch at them. I don't, like, I don't, I just go, they want, okay, sorry, don't call again, hang up, but being mean to the people who are, quote, trying to make a living because they're, telemarketers or whatever. Should I be mad at all telemarketers? Well, they're trying to make a living. I don't appreciate them calling me, but there might be somebody out there that went, oh my God, I'm so glad you called me today. I had no idea, right? Sign me up. Just saying. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many phone calls, right? So if it wasn't effective in some way, but to pick up the phone and scream at the people who are just trying to make a living is like, that just makes the divide even more. It seems like the angrier I got at, the telemarketer phone calls, the more calls I was getting, So it's almost like the universe was hearing they were hearing my dismay, and we're going, you think that's bad? Let me get a couple more, folks. Killer Priest does his music, tunes his raps over, and does not cuss. That's cool. Nasser Jones did it. He rapped over the Philharmonic Symphony. Cool beans. I did not know that. But to my point, though, you see that there are ways to bridge the gaps of things. And thank you, Pearl, for sharing that with us, honestly. So, and hey, Barry, how you doing? And Barry, I almost called you just to see if you was up and wanted to, hang out this evening in the chat room. But so anyway, I could beat this subject to death, but that's not the idea of this. So, but what we should be doing, if we're serious about fixing problems with the world, then shouldn't we start with each other? So maybe for whatever reason, you're in a foul mood today, got up on the wrong side of the bed, hit your head on the clock on the way, the kids let the thing off the toothpaste again, and somebody, dropped your favorite comb or toothbrush in the toilet, or, there are things that will just start our day out in a way that, we're just really not in a really good mood, right? So something comes along and you snap at somebody, right? Okay. That's kind of sort of normal behavior. People have grumpy days. But if you're grumpy all the time, then how can you close the gap? So if you're grumpy, well, those damn, well, those damn people there, and them damn people over here, and them damn reptiles, and the damn aliens, and the damn politicians, and the damn this and that, and the damn, oh my goodness gracious me, then you're just sending all this negative karma into your future. And it's like, is that really what? Well, them sons of guns, they're still doing stupid stuff, but I'm going to show them, and I'm going to create dialogue with people. Well, them, I watched the news and it pissed me off. Okay, how long did you stay pissed off? Well, I was mad the whole day. Well, okay, that's where you can start. You can stop being mad at stuff that really you can't control in any way. So why not bring the control back to us, right? Which it's always in our hands, right? So they voted, so, Biden instead of Trump, right? And there's all this other stuff. And then, okay. But daily, are we nice to the people? Are we cussing and fussing all the time? Are we shaking our finger and shooting birds at the people in line? Or, you've got road rage and anger management, and you go, well, I went to church on Sunday. Yeah. And you cussed all the way home, because of traffic or something, So this idea, though, that first we have to bridge our own gap and go, wait a minute here. Maybe I'm overreacting to some of this stuff. Maybe my anger or my jealousy or whatever it is that may be your gap in the universe to your own higher self. So when you notice these things, you go, wow, if I I really don't like these people, but I have to go to this store, or I have to do this thing. But so instead of going in being grumpy, you go in with a smile on your face, a different kind of attitude, right? And people go, wow, last few times that person was in here, they was grumpier than hell. This time it comes on with a smile and everything, and you light up the whole room. So that's helping to bridge that gap. Why? Because of your attitude. So if you come in with a scowl on your face, then everybody's going to look around and go, there's something wrong with that scowly guy or person, right? So if somebody comes in with a smile and you go, wow, let's all have coffee and a donut, right? And Bob, we love you. Thank you. And I do have coffee. Let's see, what time is it? 12:59. Okay, it's almost 1 o'clock. I didn't want to make this a long video because, 4 and 5 hour videos are just tough on people. Now, doesn't mean I don't want to hang out with y'all, but this idea of 4 and 5 hour videos is like, it gets very lengthy, and there's some good information tucked into hour 3.5 or 4. And unless you listen to the whole thing, you're not going to get the major idea of what I was trying to describe or have conversation about. So anyway, I'm going to try to keep the video shorter. So this idea of having a bridge to somewhere. Now, in this etherical, in the world of spirituality, you say, well, me personally, I'm talking about me right this minute. So me personally, I'm going to bridge this gap between the other worlds, the mystery worlds, the dream worlds, and whatever. And I'm going to do the best that I can to understand it while I'm in this life. So in doing so, I build up my bridges. My bridges are learning how to, to meditate, how to do astral projection. So these are the building blocks of making the bridge to somewhere. Where is it? Well, I'm not really quite sure, but I know it's out there, and I know that love and compassion are tied to it, and my, not my incentive, my intentions are such that regardless of where this bridge is going to end up, and it's not that there isn't something out there. I realize there is something out there, but I'm not quite sure how far it is, or because it's a bridge to the universe. Now, we can have conversations with people on different levels. For example, me and this, I thank you all for being here tonight, and those of you who tune in later on, I love you all. Thank you so much for considering what I have to say. But the angels are talking and go, when you stop dialogue and well, these people aren't talking to me, they must hate me. Well, and these people didn't, they used to smile at me when they came in the store, and they don't anymore. They must hate me. There's something's wrong, or it must be my fault. We can take this on ourselves. So if we don't have dialogue, though, we sometimes will take on the burden of the pain. Well, I don't know what it is with these people. They used to smile. They used to tip me good, whatever that might be. But you stop and you go, wait a minute, I must have done something wrong. Well, let's stop right there. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with you or me personally. It has to do with their lives. Hey, Ed, how are you? Hey, David Castle. So this idea, but if we don't talk, if we allow the situation to just kind of gurgitate and mumble and bubble and everything, we can very easily, and oftentimes we do, get the wrong impression. So then that creates a divide that maybe might not have been there before. So you go, well, what do I have to do with this? What you have to do with it is realize that maybe the reason those people didn't smile at you the last couple of times, he lost his job and she's on, their kids got, blah, blah, blah. And so this whole idea, though, that let's pay attention. It isn't just about us. It is about everyone else. I mean, if we're out in public, then the public is around us. So we react or don't react or whatever to, quote, I don't want to say public opinion, but to, if you're in a crowd, if everybody's laughing at a show, then you're not laughing. Either you're afraid to laugh or it's not funny to you, or maybe, So, but this idea that we're all in this together, we are, but we have to look about learning how to build a bridge over a creek or a creek, depending on where you're from, versus trying to build a bridge over the Atlantic Ocean. And so this project for humanity, if you will, is that there are many of us who, in our minds and hearts, we send our love across the universe, across the oceans and the rivers and the continents. And in that, we have crossed the ocean. But have we built a bridge? We're trying. We built a tunnel from, England to France. So there was talk about building a tunnel under the Atlantic Ocean. They probably already have, and they just won't tell us. But this idea, though, that we have to stop and realize, wait a minute, this is a really cool idea, but maybe we should really start on something smaller and closer to home. Let's practice building bridges, So for people who have not had dialogue with folks, who are just going to go out into society and willy-nilly start talking to people, you might not have the skill sets to do that because you want to throw in your opinion too quickly. Well, so what do you think about baseball? Well, them Red Sox, the Cincinnati Reds, well, okay, so you can say, well, I like the sport, but the idea, you too, David, but the idea, though, that you start in and go, well, I love them Atlanta Falcons, so you've already staked your ground out. Well, you're talking about baseball. Yeah, I know, but, now you're saying, but, baseball, my baseball revolves around the Atlanta Falcons. that, well, that might, so you haven't talked about baseball yet, but you have established this is my team. So regardless of what gets discussed about it, you've already set a precedence. So before you go blabbing about who's your favorite team, you talk about baseball a little bit. Well, baseball this and baseball that, and who do you like in the series, or what do you think about, so you don't throw out, this is how I am. I'm Atlanta Falcons fan, and no one else should come before the Atlanta. You know what I mean? So by just saying that you like the Blue Jays, yeah, the Braves, right? So, but the idea though is first let's talk about baseball before you get into the heavy. I hate I hate the Seahawks, all right, or the Blue Jays, or whoever it is. The Chicago Cubs suck. You don't. If you're trying to have dialogue with somebody, you try to keep the conversation light and let it evolve. So there are people with great ideas, but their skill sets, let me just say out loud, and they suck. Okay, because it's all about what their point of view they want to get across. And so, but if you're trying to create a dialogue with someone, you ask what they like and bring your conversation in, right? So if someone asks you, so what's your favorite team? It's better that they ask you who your favorite team is rather than you go, baseball, oh man, the Atlanta Falcons. You gave them no choice to ask you the question. You simply pushed forward your agenda and who you like, right? So what do we do with this? We listen. You start dialogue by listening. How does the other person feel about something without arguing? And maybe they get fired up and go, I've been a Cubby fan for years, but them sons of bitches, they just, okay, all right, I get it. When was the last time they won a pennant? When's the last, okay. But you can still be a fan of a team, even though they lose. I was a fan of the Bengals for a I stuck with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for God's sakes, and they ended up winning a Super Bowl, or two. But to the idea, though, that Tampa Bay sucked and they were the worst team in the league and they'll never be anything else. And, well, all of a sudden, we'll blame it on Tom Brady. But, I'm just saying. So if you want to talk about football, well, then, hey, I love football. What about that Tom Brady? Well, you might hit a sore nerve, So in your dialogue with having conversation with people, you pick something that's not so definite, I guess. That bridge to somewhere. So you're bridging the gap with someone you've just met. You like the person, you want to create a conversation, and in the conversation you would like the friendship to grow. So you're not going to just state out blatantly, I hate that tie that you're wearing. No, you don't say that. You might not like the tie that they're wearing, but you don't go, hey, I hate that freaking tie you're wearing. That's ugly. You know that? I'm sorry, but you don't start off with somehow pissing the other party off. So, you say, for example, I want to have dialogue with black people, with black folks, with with them colored races, whatever they may be. And so you say, well, I get along with black people, but that Black Lives Matter group, them sons of bitches are. You don't start out there. You may end up there, but you don't start there. You know what I'm saying? You say, well, I get along with, I think all the black folks that I've met over my lifetime. I've had an argument or two here, but, it wasn't about race. It was about something else. But then after you both establish through dialogue and a commonality that maybe they don't like Black Lives Matter either, and they're black, right? So it's like, So, but if you state that right off the bat, you have created a, a state of mind. So we can make these bridges, but we should be careful in how we build them, right? Are we going to build our bridges by beating the other side to death, or beating them up with our ideas, or whatever that is? It's 11:11, 12:11, and it's 1:12 here in South Georgia, Eastern Daylight Time. Been looking at the moon tonight, and there's a lot of conversation about the moon, how the moon's orbit has changed. And I got to say that looking out the window the last few days, it's kind of stuck in its orbit right now, in that it used to fluctuate from down here and then come up. I've been looking at it out that window there for the last few days. So, Earth wobble, moon wobble. But anyway, it's interesting now that I've been talking about the Earth and the moon wobble for years now. But it's in big time news all over the place. They're just, the moon's wobble. I mean, it all of a sudden they went from not saying anything to everything is now the moon. Just saying. Yeah, I got me my little red pipe here. So, but understanding this, the bridge to somewhere. So you've met someone like I've met my I knew my niece, but I didn't know her husband, Andy. So now that I've met Andy, I want to get to know him better. So I will bring up a topic and let him talk about it. And I'll listen to what he has to say. And then I can gauge my response on his conversation, on the conversation that we create together. But if I just state an opinion, if I just state something and that's it, and go, there's no conversation around it, You stated a fact and there it goes. And that's how you feel. And so then the other person is like, well, then why should I even have conversation with you? Because you've already got your mind made up, you see. So we have to be, even though we may have our mind made up, we don't say that right off the bat. Why? Because we want to see what these other folks is they're thinking. We want to hear their dialogue. Maybe they're, when you stop and chat with them a little bit, you find out that they're closer to you in how you feel or believe. Yes, I agree. We got to have a bridge. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I absolutely agree we should build it. How we're going to do it, not quite sure, but I believe that if we all get together, we could build this bridge. So you start there, right? Whatever the bridge, whatever the gap, whatever the situation is. So we start out small. Yeah, we don't have smoke down here from the forest fires. Uh, we're far enough south and out of the way, and we've got other winds that are blowing things around and stuff. But yeah, looking at the moon here these last couple of days, it's just strange that it's been stuck in whatever degree of angle it is in the sky. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on it, see what's happened. And happy full moon to everybody in the next day or so. We got 3 days of full moon that it affects us big time. But anyway, okay, 1:15, 5 minutes. I'm going to start early because I started late. That's why I'm starting early, because I had this ready and then I started 5 minutes late after, pouring coffee on the keyboard and everything and having to wipe up the computer. But so in this idea of building a bridge to somewhere, now on Earth, we have a destination. We want to get across this gap, river, ditch, whatever it is. But in the spiritual realm of things, we know that there are spirit guides out there. We know that there is a higher, sense We feel these things in our hearts, a lot of us do. And or that we're searching for those things. We're trying to bridge this. Here I am, a human being. How do I bridge this quote gap into the spiritual realm? How do I do this? Well, you don't do it by jumping off a high dive, off a cliff that's 1,000 foot high. You start out by reading things. You start out by listening to lectures or videos or whatever, right? You start small and you take in these little things at a time. So, our project for our lifetime is this continuous building of bridges with ourselves, with the spirit world, with each other. I mean, it took me 25 years to get to know my next door neighbor, but two neighbors, plural. But the idea, though, that I'm willing to have dialogue, I'm willing to have a bridge, I'm willing to build a bridge. So it starts there. So, but if you're not willing, if you hate it, if all you've got is negative attitude, then, you ain't going to get shit done. If the water comes up and you're trying to cross the stream, you might end up drowning, kind of thing, right? So if we take our time, if we're careful, if we must have patience, because you can't, Rome was not built in a day, kind of thing, and neither was Boulder Dam or, Hoover Dam, or that bridge that goes across the gorge just south of the dam. You have to take that into consideration. So, but our intent now, number one, say, okay, I got somebody that calls me all the time, and oh, here they go, they're calling me again. Okay, so you have to be kind enough and go, listen. I did this to Barry the other day. I had some stuff I needed to do, and he called me on the phone, and I was honestly, I didn't want to be rude, but I was kind of having a bad day, quite frankly. And I was having issues with my brain staying awake and so forth. And I realized that if I could sit here and talk to Barry on the phone, I had some things I really needed to get done. And so I had to cut in and tell Barry, say, listen, I got some stuff I need to do. And if there's something you want to talk about, I'm okay. But if not, I'm going to let you go. But see, we have to be honest. I could have sat there on the phone and not got done what I needed to get done. So in understanding things, though, if people love us, if people care for us, if people are our friends, then we can say something like I said to Barry yesterday, the day before, anyway. And I was having a hard time, Barry. I really was. But, I would have chatted with you, but I honestly had to get a couple of things done. So, but that's part of the dialogue that we have. If we don't have dialogue, if we just keep things to ourselves, but I'd have just hung up the phone or made up a false statement like, well, the phone's ringing, blah, blah, blah. So, I told him the truth. I got some things I need to do while my brain's still working. So we have to understand that if we tell the truth, if we, don't try to make up a lie, if we tell folks, listen, I've, had some misgivings about this particular subject for a while. And, I would like to give my opinion, but I don't want to offend you. So, but, you simply state, like if somebody says, what do you think about Catholics? Well, I'm going to get to know you a little better before I say, well, I think all Catholics suck. And I think the Vatican is, witchcraft and demonology. And I'm going to wait a while before we have that discussion, right? Although that's how I feel. So, but do I express how I feel right away? Or do I have dialogue with folks? Oh, I missed it. So I've seen folks who are like, well, I really want to get to know them, but they just don't know where I'm coming from. and they just don't get me. Okay, then it should be your intent and your job then to let them get to know you a little better. As you can, well, they just irritate the hell out of me. And they all these arguments and all this negative energy. Then why do you talk to these people at all then? If that's how you really feel, then next time they call, I go, listen, I'm tired of you calling, please don't call me anymore, and hang up. Oh, well, that would be rude. Well, wait a minute. Don't you think that your continuous banter behind the scenes um, is actually negative energy you're spreading into the universe? Well, damn it, this person called me again. And and off you go into your own, and you're listening and blah, 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 whatever. You know what I mean? So the dialogue may be that you say, listen, I know we've talked about this before. Is there something new? Well, no, I just need somebody to talk to. Okay, well, I'm glad you called me, but there are other things I need to do. And so you're being kind, but you're also telling the truth. I've got some other things to do, but you don't tell them to their face, listen, I hate you calling me and talking about this. Every time you call, you're always, you don't do that. But you do be honest and go, okay, if that's all, I love you. Listen, I need to go. I got some stuff I need to do, and we'll talk soon. Okay, bye. And you kill them with kindness. But if your intent in your head is, this some bitch is calling me again, every time they call me, it upsets me. You're sending that energy out to the universe when actually maybe we should just be calm and go, wow, somebody's calling, something. Well, you could pick up the phone and go, hi, how you doing? Listen, I love you. Thanks for calling, but I really can't talk right now. And so we'll get together again. Okay. All right. Have a great day. Bye. And be honest. So my friend who calls me at 2 o'clock in the morning, there are times when I can't be that kind because he's drunk and high. Okay. So you have to deal with people that are drunk and high differently. But the idea, though, that you can still listen for a few minutes and then you can tell them, okay, it's 2:30 here in the AM time. And, I was really, trying to get to sleep here. So I'll talk to you some other time. Okay. Love you. Bye. So, but if we are angry or pissed or, that energy is going out into the universe. You follow me? So we can't have a good dialogue if you're thinking negative stuff while the other person's on the phone. Now, that's just an example, but I bet you know somebody like that, right? Or someone has just ticked you off and, what are you calling me for at this point? And just calm down. Just calm down. Because you don't want to blow up the bridge of friendship or dialogue. You just want to cease pouring cement for the day or something. You go, wait a minute, we need some rebar, So there are ways that we can continue building bridges without tearing them down before we ever start, kind of thing. By this negativism that's in our heads, that when this person triggers it, we send it out to the universe. We can stop that. And you say, well, Hawkeye, what the hell difference does it make? They don't know what I'm thinking. Doesn't matter. You're thinking it. You're sending it out into the universe, and it's affecting your aura. It's changing the color of your energy. What? Yeah, think about it. But I know. So somebody calls you up and you're really pissed off. You just go, listen, I'm sorry, but now is not a good time. We'll have a conversation later, and just say goodbye. So now there may be that person who irritates you so much every time that they call. You sometimes wonder, why am I trying to build a bridge with this person at all? What's the connection? And it may be that there's some kind of subliminal, what do they want from me? Why are they calling me? Why, what do they want from me? Do they want sympathy? Do they need a friend? What is it that they think I'm giving them. Here's the thing. Ask them. What you calling for today? Well, what do you mean? Well, why are you calling? What's your problem? Well, I just wanted to chat. Okay. Well, so do you have anything specific? Well, no, I'm lonely. Ah, okay, you're lonely. Listen, but you may be lonely today and I love you, but I'm busy and I can't stop right now. Do you understand? Will you not be mad at me? Listen, for the next couple of hours I'm busy, call me later on. Ed says he used to call his brother when he was drunk all the time. I've had people call me at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, drunk and high as hell. And well, I know you'd be up. I'm not really. I was sleeping, but that's beside the point. I used to be, and there are times when I am up at all hours, but um, there are folks over the years who have taken advantage of that, and being drunk and high or whatever, they call me up and want to talk about the dumbest things over and over and over again. They get into that loop. But so then you have to just say, sorry, but I was sleeping, and you hang up. I love you. We'll talk later, and hang the phone up, or turn the ringer off, if they try to call you back. But sometimes if they're drunk and high, they will just keep calling you until you wake up, right? So I've seen that happen. So, and in that you just, I don't drink anymore either, Ed, except coffee. So all of y'all out there, it's been an hour and 1 minute and 55 seconds. I love you all and say thank you, Bob. There's been weird stuff on the internet, and with the internet. And Bob, we know that there are issues going on that you can't help. So, we love you. And to the universe, we want to say ween to all you folks. So, but anyway, so there are lots of ways. And for ourselves, we have to decide whether or not we want to participate with bridge building with whomever that other person is, or maybe it's a group or whatever it is. How far, how willing are you to get involved to have dialogue? How important is this to you to have this conversation, or to be with, what is it? Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know why I like this person. I just do. But sometimes they just irritate me. Okay. And maybe sometimes you would irritate them. Have you ever thought about that it works both ways? So, but if you have a better dialogue with people, like, for example, when they're sober and you go, hey, listen, man, you called me up the other day at 2 a.m. Yeah, I know. I probably shouldn't do that. Right. You probably shouldn't, because I'm not actually up every morning at 2 a.m., and sometimes there are things I have to do the next day. And, you send me a text message or something like that. Or, now, since I don't have a cell phone and you can't really text me, I got a hard line, so people call me. But to the point, though, simply because we think it's all right doesn't mean that it really is in the universe. So our opinion matters. But if we're going to build bridges and have dialogue and bring people closer together, then we need to leave our opinions out of the dialogue when we first start chatting. It's not that they don't matter, but we slowly bring our ideas in, because if you talk to enough people and you meet them face to face, your opinion of something, whatever it might be, could very drastically change. Like me and my 2,000-mile trip, right? I looked around and I saw America just being America. Like, what? Then I'm reading the news that, Armageddon's right around the corner again. And, we're all starving to death again. And there's all these problems, still, and all these millions of people. And we're on the verge of, and I just, I want to throw up, because it's like, that is not what I've seen. Now, is these 2,000-mile journeys and through these states, is that what the rest of the United States is like? And I would say probably more like that than what the propaganda they're trying to sell us. And so, one of the interesting things that came out, one of these polls, if you can believe them, but was that 96% of the people after the January election refused to listen to mainstream um, news. They're like NBC, the CNN, they don't want to hear it, and that they're getting most of their news from alternate sources. Now, what? Yeah, that's the big time poll. So, and CNN and them folks, they can feel it. Their revenues are down, and their, the readership or what watchership or whatever it is down. So the propaganda machine is not working for them. They screwed up big time. So while the propaganda machine is still pumping out the propaganda, real people are talking with other real people, and they're going, wait a minute, this ain't what I see. There are spots, where people are going around and they knock on the door and they're going to give us shots. But out here in the country, in most of these places, people are going, I'm not, number one, I'm not going out there because people in the country have guns, and we're not going to do this kind of thing. Well, lots of them shows got gloom and doom. Yep. But here's one of the things that is kind of sort of, I'll be honest, is pissing me off. And that some of these alternative shows, in order to get clickbait, I'm assuming, have turned into some doom and gloom. So, if I talk about doom and gloom, I bring it about, but I'm always also talking about, listen, they're just, if the sun shoots out a coronal mass ejection that fries all the electronics on the planet, there's not one flipping thing any of us can do about it. Well, is it an act of God? Well, it was an act of the sun. Could it happen? Yes. We had an event yesterday or today or whatever where there was a big event, and our magnetosphere kind of shrunk down, and we got hammered with some, sure enough, cosmic rays that literally hit the ground kind of thing. Doesn't happen very often. But does it happen? Yes. Has it happened in the past? Yes. Or is it going to happen in the future? Yes. So what's the big deal? The big deal is how bad it's going to be and how we look at it, right? Or, cause and effect. If there's an earthquake, okie dokie. I still say the planet and the moon and the stars and well, not so much the stars, but the planet and the moon, we've got obvious changes going on here. So the best thing we can do is just be prepared, right? If we get to know our neighbors better, like me after 25 years, if you get to know your neighbors better, maybe if something like that happened, you and your neighbors better have conversation, or you're going to be killing each other, or they're going to be killing you. And if they kill you, then guess what? You won't have to worry about it. It'll be out of your hands. So, but dialogue. So how do we start with dialogue to this bridge to somewhere? Well, I know that I want to continue creating positive dialogue. So for me, where does it start? It starts with my mouth in being more, I say being more positive. I try to think about some of the stuff that I've talked about, and it's like, yeah, it's been about that long or longer for me too, Ed, for quitting drinking, if that's what you've been talking, if that's what you're talking about. And I got a bottle of Jack Daniels sitting right up there, that if I wanted to swig, all I got to do is stand up and grab it and drink. And you know what? I thought about it today. I was like, I was watching some show and they were just sitting at a bar and they were doing a salute and having a shot. And I was like, a shot of Jack Daniels, a shot of whiskey, just. So, but anyway, I was like, I almost took a shot that I was like, nah, but to the point though, it's like, I've got it if I want it. So, the temptation when you can buy a bottle or a bottle of beer, a bottle of booze, or whatever it is that you're giving up, when you can buy one and set it on the shelf and go, I see you over there, but you know, I'm stronger than you. I have to get up to open that bottle. I have to use my hands and feet to drink from it. But um, and it's like the cigarette thing that I'm working on. I noticed that, I have, quote, smoked more cigarettes since I went to the store. But I also noticed that they were, half of them were burning. The half of the cigarettes I smoked burned halfway down, and I didn't really smoke the cigarette. I put it in the ashtray, did something, turned around and looked and went, damn, that cigarette went bye-bye. Took 2 hits and put it out, right? So, but I'm sticking to less than a half a pack a day. And, it took me 3 days to smoke the last pack. And I just opened this pack today, and I'm, been ignoring it. But so it's by choice, and it's like, I've got this cigarette, I don't really want to smoke it, put it down. For whatever the reason, you're smarter, you've got, and for me, willpower. It's like, so willpower in the universe. How can I combat the evil spirits in the universe if I can't keep myself from smoking one cigarette? I mean, I want to like, nope, gonna not smoke it. So those are choices, right? So that's a bridge, if you will, because we're taking control of our situation, our life, our destiny. I'm not going to smoke that cigarette, or I'm not going to drink that drink, or I'm not going to cuss when this person calls me up on the phone. I'm in the middle of something. You could also, because most of us have, you know, caller ID. If you know who the number is, then don't pick it up. That's the other side of the coin. Well, he called and I had to answer. No, you didn't. You could call him back. Well, did you? Now it's like you dissed me because, I called you, but you didn't answer. Well, I was in the middle of something. It doesn't, if I was free and sitting in the yard and I go, oh, look, Joe's called. Hey, how you doing, brother? It's different. But if I'm in the middle of something, regardless of what it is, and someone calls and you go, well, you just interrupted me. I was in the middle of doing, so you start off angry, you know what I mean? But if you don't pick up the phone and you go, well, that person's now they're gonna think I didn't come. Now I'm slighting them. I'm not answering their phone calls. And maybe you aren't answering their phone calls for whatever reason, but shouldn't you call the person and go, look, I know you called me 5 times today, but I've been busy and other things, and I just wasn't in the mood to talk. Be honest. So whatever it is, the reason they might be calling you over and over and over and over and over again is because they want to talk to you to find out what's wrong because you ain't talking to them. See what I mean? So you can create your own catastrophes. So is that what we want, or do we want to be brutally honest, but with kindness? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sorry, but you called me up and I'm not feeling too good. So can we chat later? Or I'm really you could be watching a movie or something, but are you in the middle of something? Can you hit pause and you're okay with that? Or do you really want to watch that movie? Does it matter to whoever it is well, if you were watching a movie, you could have paused it and talked to me. But maybe not. If that's my time and I'm watching this movie and I'm really into it and everything, you might actually be interrupting me, and it's like storming in the front door going, hey, and standing in front of the TV going, listen to me. Wouldn't that be rude from the part of the caller? So we have to understand, though, both sides. And the only way to understand is to have dialogue, is to start somewhere that's kind of sort of neutral ground, Well, do you like baseball? Or maybe you start off with sports. Do you like sports? Well, not really, but, I really enjoy, volleyball. Oh, okay. So ever played, blah, 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 so volleyball is it? So, go, well, I don't really, but so you don't start off with, um, what do you think about baseball? You start off with, what do you think about sports? Which is, I'm having this relapse of a conversation with my brothers and sisters up in Ohio. And that, a couple of my brothers and sisters up there, they're like sports fanatics. They don't really care if it's basketball or baseball or whatever. They love to watch sports. Me, not so much, right? But I'm watching the occasional baseball game, but I don't have ESPN on all the time and watching baseball games and switching between channels or or whatever, right? I'm just not there. Now it may be in football season if two college teams are playing it, on a day, I might flip back and forth between the channels, and I do. Who's ahead? Old Miss and Alabama, or Georgia Tech, or just saying. There's rivals out there, and we're both playing on the same day, and I'm going to flip between the channels. I want to see what's going on. Yes. So I do get it from a sports standpoint, but more football to me than all these other sports. Okay. But I'm not against sports. You know, I'm not the biggest football fan either, but I do have my rivals in my teams, and I'd much rather watch a lot of times college games than pro games, but that's me. So, but it's sometimes a good high school game, between two teams. So it's up to us if we're going to be those who build bridges, for us to be conscious of how we build them and what's our intent. If you've met someone new and you really like whatever the cut of their jib out, whatever it is, you say, well, I want to become friends with them. Okay. So, but what is your motive to want to get to be their friend? Are they rich and famous? Do they have a boat and you like to go out on the lake? I mean, what's the reason? Are they just a nice person and you just like chatting with them? So, but and there's nothing wrong with any of the above, okay? But what we should do though, before we go, well, this person keeps calling me, then you should make up in your own mind what is your relationship with these people. Because if every time they call they just piss you off, then maybe you should just say, look, please don't call anymore, or put them on the do not call list, or but them bucks. I got you, Pearl. So, but anyway, but we make the choice. So you say, well, a bridge can't be built. Well, there's too big a divide. Well, if you're making those statements, then okay, maybe it is. Or are you limiting your own self and the potential of what this dialogue could mean with someone else or a group or an individual? It doesn't matter. But what is your intent with this group? Do you want to learn, to be a part of the soul tribe? Why? Because you feel like part of the family. Why? Because I get to share and other people share. Okay, but why? I mean, so you have to ask this question almost to the point of being silly about it. But why am I doing this? Why do I want to do this, or why do I don't want to do it today? Why is this? Well, for example, somebody's going to have a live stream, and I look at the topic and go, I'm just not today. Don't be rude to the people of the channel or the people that hang out there or whatever, but the topic for the discussion is not for me today. Okay, fine. I know that every time I get on and whatever topic they choose for me to have a chat about, that there's not going to be 20 or 30 people on. And I'm very, happy to see, 10 or 12 folks on here. And when it hits 20, I'm like ecstatic. And the numbers seem to lie up here too. But anyway, me, it's not about the numbers. It's about the message that we get out. So, my conversation with y'all in this is that as bridge builders, we first must sit down and have a conversation. And if we, want to argue as soon as we sit down, then that we're not going to build any bridges. So let's just be aware of certain things before we proceed any further and go inside yourself and go, hmm. And we have to be honest. I don't like the bridge they're proposing. I think it's stupid. Okay. So then you don't like their design. Is their design faulty or you just don't like it? I mean, is it structurally sound? Are they using all the right materials? Are the spans and, the physical properties of the bridge? It's all sound. Yeah, I just don't like the design. But you're just going to be pissy about it the rest of the time? Well, they're building this bridge, but I just think it's a bad design. Okay, but you put your 2 cents in, and everybody chose this design for whatever reason. But are you going to build the bridge, or are you just going to sit and whine about it the whole time? And after it's built, I told them that design was bad. Yada 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 yada. All So there's negative energy being out there, and trust me, pick something. Well, I don't like the way they designed that. They should have done it this way. I used to be like that. I still am like that. Like, why in the hell they do it like that? But for whatever reason, they seem to have a good, in construction back in them days. But so our intentions begin with us, regardless of who's going to help us build the bridge or whether we build it ourselves. If it's our own spiritual bridge to the other side, to the somewhere out in the universe, then it's got to start with honesty. It has to start with compassion. It has to be with love. That because if you're, there are folks who are evil, wicked, mean, bad, nasty, and if that's what they want out of the universe, okay. Don't have to listen to them, don't have to agree with them, but they have the right to be that way if they so desire. There's a couple of people that I was listening to before a couple of years ago that I honestly can't listen to now. And because and other people will have emailed to me and go, that RW, finish the sentence. He's being more confusing, and what about this? And I'm wondering about his agenda. And but there's still people who hang out on that in the chat on that show, but they have a different agenda themselves, which is interesting. So, but with that, we can agree that there's information. It just might not be for us. And it might not be the stuff that you want to build your bridge with to that somewhere, Kind of, sort of, Ed. It starts with our own heart. Why do you want to do this? And people have to be honest with themselves, Well, I really like my neighbors, so I want to get to know them. Why? Well, because I should have. Why? Well, we share a property line. Okay. Why? Well, because they bought that. So why do you want to get to know them more? Well, because now, they've got almost 40 acres to between us, we have almost 40 acres to hunt instead of just, 15 or 20 acres apiece, right? So we've got twice as much property to hunt or work on or walk or whatever like that with permission. You see what I'm saying? Without argument or being ugly or whatever, sharing, right? Because we share the love of the woods and the river and the swamp into our backyards. So okay, so there's good reasons to get get to know my neighbors after all these years, and but to the point though, I don't have to call them every day. I don't have to, there isn't this constant, Although I should call them and see how they're doing, and just remind them that I haven't forgotten that they stopped by and shared with me. Um, but in this love of life and love of the world and love of the universe, we start out with our intentions. We start out with self. So if our self is being cranky and grumpy and bitchy at times, but we're trying to, start a dialogue or keep a dialogue with someone or build a friendship or continue the friendship, because you can have a really good bridge of friendship with someone, and through stupidity or whatever, you can blow that bridge up. And that some bitch is like hard to repair later on. So where do but what do you want with it? Because regardless of what anybody else feels, it basically boils down to us. Do I want this bridge? What's my intent? Do I want to cross over? And I'm a Hatfield and they're the McCoys. Do I really want to cross that bridge? Do I want to, do I even want to be down in the gully? I might get shot at and or killed. So what do we want out of this, right? We want to burn bridges. We want to build them. How do we want? But our intent, our love in the universe, and our openness to accept love, accept and receive, right? But if somebody's just going to be negative to us all the time, then we just simply reject the negative. We still put out the love for the person or the being or whatever, even though we don't, particularly agree with their cynicism or, whatever. But we understand that they have a right to feel that way. Now, here's the thing. In our keeping of bridges or building of bridges, is it that we go, wow, you're really upset about this today? Yeah, blah, blah, bitch. Well, maybe, but this is up to me or you or the next person to help calm them down or to say something positive or to, well, here's this person. All they do is call me up to bitch. Well, okay, so maybe the reason they're calling you is because maybe they think you can help calm them down. Now, it may be that, you feel used and abused because every time they call up, they want you to talk them down off the wall. But here's the thing, though. You might find that instead of being pissed off all the time, that you can see and hear and find the kindness in your own heart to share with them that may help why they called you in the first place. Oh, well, I hadn't thought about that. Well, thanks. Well, listen, I can't hang out with you right now, but, come on, have a positive day. Think, and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye. You know. So whatever that phone call is, whatever that interaction with other folks are. So the bridge starts with us and our intent. What do we want out of it? Are we being greedy? Are we expecting someone else to build more of the bridge than what we are? But without a dialogue of how the other person might be going, man, I'm the one that calls all the time. And I have a friend of mine that's like that. But on my part, I don't call them like I should. That's the honest part of that. But I don't know if they're awake. I don't know what they're doing. And there are times when I look at the clock and go, because I don't change my clock. So it's 2:00 on my clock, but it's 3:00 in the morning. Just say it. So there are different reasons why I haven't called some other folks or whatever. But it always boils down to I don't want to interrupt what they're doing. Because other people will call me. Now, I'm not saying Barry or anybody like that, but there are times when the phone rings, you just can't answer it. That's all of us, okay? So, but I get that to where I don't call somebody else because I might be, interrupting what they're doing, right? When actually I probably should call because maybe they're thinking about me and, and the reason I'm calling is because they were chatting about me. You know what I'm saying? So there are different reasons for why or why nots. But it is up to us, essentially, how we want the dialogue And if you build a bridge, is it, like a swinging bridge and a rope and one person at a time? Or can you drive a car across it? So how strong is the bridge? How strong is the friendship? How strong is the relationship with you and the universe? Now, I say it is up to us, but sometimes the universe will throw us a curve. But if you're strong in who you are and what you believe in, then it doesn't matter what happens in the universe. And you say, well, I might get killed. Yeah, well, then if you understand about reincarnation and so forth, then you're not really going to die. You're just going to pass from this one and you're going to be available for the next train ride. You know what I mean? So I have a feeling he watches. Uh, he actually gave you a shout out, Hawkeye. Who's that? I have a feel. Are you talking about RW, Pearl? I have a feeling he watches you secretly. Are you talking about RW? Really? that's that. That's interesting. That's interesting because Brian and I had a thing of, and it was him too, and I just I agreed with him and tried not to push it. Yeah, thank you. That is really interesting. That is really interesting. But there have been many times, and y'all know me over the last years, so certain topics will come up and I'll do a video and go, nah, like the sigils thing and certain other things. And, and that, listen, please, there's more to understand about this. And if you're not used to this kind of stuff, then, you should really be careful, And unfortunately, there have folks who have come back to me later on and go, man, I wish I'd listened to you. You were right on about that. And, I I do these videos not because I want to prove that I'm right. These are my observations. And like talking about the moon and the earth wobble, and I go, I have been talking about this for years. And because many of us have noticed things. So, and it's in the observation and the awareness of the universe that I've been going on about this. But at the same time, pay attention. There's some crazy stuff going on here. But I don't want an award because I might have been one of, I was talking about it long before other people were, but I just, for myself, I go, he, catch up with the rest of us, in that your observations are slow or for whatever reason you can't talk about it or whatever, But so, and over the years, I have mellowed about those kinds of folks because it's like they have a right to talk about it. But when I think that the topic gets to where people, okay, Bob, we had a little bit of delay there. Uh, that, you know, is this person wrong? Well, I might come right out and say they're wrong about this, and you should really check it out. Or, please don't do that, like sigils and stuff. And don't get it, don't just listen to these people. Ooh, this is going to be fun. Please don't, don't do seances and stuff if you really don't know what you're doing, or you've picked up this thing you thought was cool and you're going to try it. Maybe not. I've done it. Many of us have done it, and we've paid the price. So, to conjure things and stuff like that is one of the things that I talked about at one time. If you even use the word to conjure, you're in the wrong ballpark, period. If you have to conjure anything under any circumstances, the word conjure is like, you're in the wrong ballpark. Just back out, put your ball and glove down, go do something else. But if you're going to play that game, then okie dokie. I will warn you, and others of us will too, be careful what you wish for. And then when you have shit come down on your head, and then you go, well, I don't understand why I have all these negative energies around me. What were you tinkering with? Um, 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 um. And here's something I'm going to throw it in here. All right. See how long I've had this cigarette? Half an hour, and I still haven't lit it. Yeah, he talks about some deep stuff. Yep. But he confuses people, Ed. He gets on these things and he confuses people, and they're heading down this way, and then they go this way, and then they come back around the other side. And but anyway, and other people have chatted with me and spoke to me about this. And it's amazing how many people have like, gee, Dave, I'm really glad that you kind of said something about that. Or, to not necessarily disagree, but to bring out another viewpoint, which a lot of times I'm disagreeing with him. Okay. But now here's something, if I haven't forgotten it. Yeah, I forgot. Okay. Now listen, everybody. I have talked about this before, but I'm an hour and 36 minute. Yeah, confused. All right. There you go. So I try to stick on the same types of things for me and the shaman and the spirituals thing, right? Without taking folks down so many paths that they get confused. And confusion and chaos for me, and Brian agreed with me before he passed last year. He agreed with me that it seemed like some people were just selling chaos. And that in our belief, that's just wrong. Oh my God, it's a frog. And this frog just leaped across. Oh, he's chasing, oh my God, a tree frog. Whoop, leaped across. Where'd he come from? That was weird. So, but his show is just information and stuff, where mine is too, but um, I'm not going to talk about different faiths, or anyway, I don't want to go there. But anyway, but we all have the right for discussion. But at the same time, maybe it's Brian that I saw something different, and that there was too much confusion. And we wanted other folks to be able to express themselves and so forth. And if I could figure out how to do a share screen, I would do so. And it's not because I don't want to talk with anybody or have anybody else on. Y'all voice your opinion in the chat room, and I repeat it where necessary, and I, interact with y'all. And I think that's important. Pearl, that just I keep seeing that he watches you secretly. That's just funny, because I know there are some other people who watch me secretly too, which is just interesting. But I want to bring this thing up here at an hour and 40 minutes in, and it has to do with jewelry, okay? And it has to do with folks talking about, the ancient spiral, for example, and that it goes like this, it goes clockwise. Okay. All right. Well, we have to, what may be different, what may be the person who's making it. Now, I speak from experience, because I've made jewelry for people with crystals and stuff, and, over the years. And I got to a point where Creator told me, my spirit guide said, you can't do that because. And I was like, well, I've got this thing and a crystal, and I wound the wire, and when you look down at it, it's wound clockwise. But it's clockwise for me, and it's clockwise for the crystal that I use, but it may not be for someone else. So there are people out there, and I love you all who make jewelry and things, but please understand that a clockwise winding may not be for everyone. At the same time, there are people who are saying, well, this winding is counterclockwise and it's good for, releasing negative energies, or it may be that it's good for them. Be very careful. And I've had people contact me and go, David, I'm glad you brought this up, because there are some folks, and the point of this is very simply, clockwise might be good for some days as a heyoke, as sort of the trickster in a way, but not like coyote so much, maybe more like fox. But the heyoke, when everybody's up, he brings everybody, and says, listen, y'all are eating good and everything, but remember, we were hungry a week ago. So, don't get too fat tonight and don't overdo it. Let's save a little bit. No copper wire. See, and for me, copper is mostly for me. So, but for other folks, copper don't work for them. I can't wear gold, for example. Me and gold just do not get along. I've given away gold jewelry and things simply because it doesn't agree with me. And there are other things too. It's like there are, as the heyoke, fear porn. Yeah, I just saw that, Michelle. But anyway, the idea though, that here's the thing, as a heyoke, and I've talked about this, sometimes the ceremony requires that you go clockwise. And sometimes the ceremony says, no, you need to go this direction. The same thing with the, you're a silver gal. Yeah, me and silver get along, but gold, man, and brass. Oh, I love brass. I don't wear any brass, but I love brass. There's brass all around me. I love brass for whatever reason. But anyway, I've got a lot of brass. Some people go, wow, that's brass on there. Yeah, I got a lot of brass. But the understanding, though, that some days, like some people will wear a crystal every day and they'll wear it out. And I've got this crystal that I've got the winding around my neck here, but the crystal jumped out the other day and said, nah, me and you need a rest. And so here's the crystal. Your heyoke, you believe, Michelle? It's a curse and a blessing. But so here's the crystal that's been hanging in this thing, but it will tell me, I need a rest and you need a rest from this. And it literally will jump out of this thing and say, okay, put me down for a couple of days. I don't want to be around you, So, but with that understanding, though, we have to pay attention to the universe. So people are selling certain things that this is how it's going to work for everybody every time. And that's not true. Okay, a counterclockwise winding might work for some people. It depends on whether or not they are wound clockwise or counterclockwise. It may depend on the day and the energy that's coming from the moon or not coming from the moon. In that, a clockwise winding or a counterclockwise might be the better thing for us to do. So we need to learn this and not just accept what somebody's selling. Okay. Now, if somebody's making jewelry that's counterclockwise and they proclaim this particular thing, I would say that, okay, buyer beware. Not that the jewelry is nice. These folks make some beautiful jewelry. That's not my point. My point is it may not be for you. It may be for you only in certain circumstances. So all crystals that I have in my house and in my yard, do I physically hold all the time, or that I go over and sit beside? Some of them are just part of the environment. But they, as a collective, they, give the harmony, right? But it doesn't mean to go around and, I'm going to hold this rock today. And now there are times when I have some of these rocks that will call to me and I'll go pick them up. I've got one right over here that is a double-ended. Uh, it's a double-ended crystal, and this thing has traveled with me, puppet shows and stuff. But I will ask it if it will come, and then I always put my energy into the crystal by kissing the crystal and saying I love you and thank you. And then there are times when I say I love you and I thank you, and I'm holding the crystal and it says not today. Now it might be my energy is off because it won't, uh, harmonize with this crystal. As much as I love it, as much as I like to carry it, as much as I want it to be with me, I have to listen to the universe, and it says not now. And then there are times when I grab the crystal and go, please come with me. I need your energy. Will you come because I need you? And most of the time, the answer is yes. Okay. But if I'm just like, oh, let me grab this, and it goes, nah, put me down. Oh, sorry about that. I love you. Put your energy always into it, right? And give your intentions. So, but is this crazy? Well, crystals emanate energy. They reflect it. They vibrate it. So is kissing your crystal and saying, hey, I love you to the crystal. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your time. Thank you, whatever it has to do in this universe. Guess what? Here's part of the topic to help me bridge the gap between my spirituality, my higher self, the quantum universe, the great beyond, all of the above. So if a crystal works for me at one time, it might not work for me the next time. So I have to be open to that. It took me a while to get this, but there are folks who are selling certain things and it works for them and maybe for a friend or two. But my warning is to this: regard whether you make it, somebody else makes it, whatever the material is that it's made of, buyer beware or builder beware. In that, well, I want to build this way, and I built several things that were clockwise and several things that were counterclockwise. And I was like, now why did I go that way when I made this? What prompted me to wind the wire this way or this way? Yeah, and David, that's not a good thing, especially with lapis. You need to take it off and air it out, soak it, sea salt, something. But lapis is good for guys, okay, and certain things. But it's not good to wear anything all the time, because even in your sleep or whatever, it collects without your knowledge. The bad stuff that you might be working out in your head gets put into the crystal or the stone or the jewelry, and we have to take them off. It's imperative that we take them off and let them rest. They need a break from us, okay? Honestly, they need a break from us. And to honor the universe, you go, man, I've been wearing this thing now for the last 3 months. I haven't taken it off. But David, do you take it off? You have to. It's up to you. I'm just saying. But in harmony with nature, sometimes you have to take it off and hang it up on the wall, on the bed, on the thing. You got to take it off and get it out of your aura. For the rock's sake. Well, I charge it every week. I charge it every day. I charge it. Yeah, just because you're charging it don't mean it wants it. You have to look at the other side of this from the rock's point of view, okay? Just saying, my opinion. But the more I listen to the rocks and the nature, the crystal says, hey, give me a rest for a couple days. Yep. Sometimes you just have to take it off. I'm just saying. But every time you wear it, but there is that recharging. But so people do different things, but I've noticed with people that I've worked with for many years with crystals and stuff, I'm like, you wear that all the time. Oh yeah, I wear it all the time. But I charge it up and I do. Yeah, but you're having these flaky feelings and you don't know where it is. And I'm listening to the crystal and the crystal's going, please tell them to take me off for a couple of days. Give me a break, for crying out loud. And you go, it's 216, 217. I wear my Q ray all the time. They must be cleansed energetically and recharged. And you got to take them off to give them a rest. Period. You just do. You don't have any stones, Michelle? Man, I should send you a couple. I mean, seriously, I should send you a couple. But, that's, as a shaman in training, I would advise you, be nice to your jewelry and take it off sometimes, just because. And if you're really in tune to it, when you think you're well, my stone needs charged. It may be telling you, take me the fuck off. Give me a rest. Well, not just that it needs recharging because it's, you've overused the energy that's in the stone. Well, so then you have to recharge it. So, but anyway, I'm not trying to talk about anything bad about folks and everything, but I've got lots of books on crystals. I've been at this a long time, okay? And the shaman thing is that not every crystal, not every, people who are making wands and things, they claim, oh, it's doing okay. I'm all right. I've never had the incidents where I needed, quote, a wand, unquote, to do a ceremony with. My finger is a wand. My arm is a wand. So I'm just saying, these folks who have wands and things, why do you need them? And what are their purposes? What do you intend to use them for? And let's be quite frank, do you know how to use them? Now, for me, I was very much into going to have this, and I've got staffs and stuff. Don't get me wrong. I've got my share of certain things, right? But at the same time, they're not necessary all the time. Only in very rare circumstances do I pull out my staff with the crystal on it. Very seldom, because it's not necessary all the time. It's in my house. The crystal is here, and it's part of the general aura of the place. But as far as me, using a wand every day or doing this thing, and I got to have it, it's like, then you're thinking too much about magic. See, you're depending on an object to help you bridge the gap to wherever it is you're going, right? But after a while, you realize that crystals can help you. But once you've opened certain areas of your brain, you don't need these crutches anymore. Oh my God, I'm open to the universe all the time. Oh, it's 220. Let's have a 220. Okay, Michelle, why are you opting to be stone free? Just curious. So, but anyway, honestly, tell yourselves and say, well, listen. There's sometimes I've got crystals all over the place, and sometimes I'll get pulled out in the yard and I'll be down in the bushes and go, ooh, there's a crystal. It must want me to, go around. Yeah, I agree with you, Pearl. So, but but not all crystals, not all the time, not the same ones. And that when you learn to listen to the universe, the crystals will speak to you and say, hey, use me. I can help out today. Or, hey, I want to go for a ride. Or, hey, how come you don't take me out anymore and play with me? Kind of thing, if you remember what that joke's about. But to the point, though, we listen to ourselves. We listen to the harmonics of whatever it is that you're wearing. Okay. Now I've been wearing this copper band forever, but there are times when it just irritates me, and I just got to pull the damn thing off. So for whatever reason, it's just got to come off, and it used to bother me. Well, I really want to wear it, but maybe it don't want to be worn. Wait a minute. Wait. So when you start considering the object as something real and tangible and that has energy, otherwise, why are you trying to use it all the time? For the reasons I just said, you don't know which ones to choose. Well, anyway, having a stone that will resonate with you, that you can get, maybe it's just sit somewhere in the window in the house, doesn't mean it's something that you have to wear all the time. And it may be something you just see it and you go, yeah, I see that. Um, like amethyst, for example. I've got some big amethyst sitting right over there, and it's in the window, and I've moved it around and tried other windows, but it really likes it in that window. So I don't argue about it. Well, I should, and I move them around and I dust and polish and whatever, but they pretty much end up in the same place in that window right there. And so some things just want to be where they're at, even if they're in the way sometimes. But even then, it's like, well, they've been in this window for a long time, and I look over it and go, but something, it feels something wants to move. Somebody wants to be in a different location. And one crystal wants to go over here, or maybe I've got some underneath this chair back here. There are a couple of them that need some sunshine. They've been under the chair too long, or I need to take them to the river, or whatever it is. So when you pay attention and become aware in the universe and aware of these different vibrations, then you will become more aware of those crystals, stones. It could be a stick. There's energy in a lot of stuff. So it's like, okay, so I've got a piece of wood up there that I carved years ago, and I thought to myself, why is this still here? Because there was energy put into it, I think, and there was something about this little piece of root or whatever I found, and I found it intriguing. And does it really mean anything to anybody else? No, it's just a piece of wood, and somebody else would throw it in the fire. But it's been hanging around for a long time, and I've carved little things on it, and you can look at it, it's an interesting. But it's like, so what does this piece of wood stand for? What good is it? For whatever the energy is, it sometimes it's just nice to put it beside me somewhere. Why? I don't know. It just feels good. Whatever the energy, whatever the thing, whatever you know what I mean? So, but when you are aware in the universe of all of these different things, and you're aware of maybe it's clockwise today and maybe it's counterclockwise, but the posters say and the people say and other folks say, and it's like, yeah, but that might be the right thing for you, though. That's all. It might be the right thing for you. You may be counterclockwise today because it may be necessary to counteract some overage in another area. Well, what do you mean? There's too much positive energy. Well, how can we have too much positive? Well, if we have too much of a good thing, sometimes if we just have to go the other direction just to keep it in balance. It's not that we want negative energy, it's that we want balance in the universe. So if we wear a piece of jewelry all the time, and never give it a rest, there's no balance there. Let's just honestly be practical. I mean, I've learned this with my own jewelry and other things. You have to take it off. You have to respect the object. Otherwise, you're not really being aware. Well, I recharge it. Well, I do this. Okay, but have you taken it off for a couple of days? Well, no, I do these others. Okay, all right, but I'm just saying. So, after a couple of years of this, let me know if you still feel that way. I'm not being rude about this. I'm being honest. If you feel this same way in a couple of years, let me know, because that might be that you can't go anywhere without this crystal or without this jewelry or without that thing, or it must be a particular way. And if you have convinced yourself that that's true, like I convinced myself with this other crystal that if I didn't have it with me, that my puppet shows would go wrong. And then I went to Tennessee one time and left it here in Georgia. Then I like to freaked out when I was in Tennessee. I don't have my crystal that helps me to be creative. And I was like, I was shook. And then, that was I think it was the year that I met the shaman, the medicine man that was, the great great grandson of Crazy Horse. We wear it for different reasons, but, and like my little copper bracelet, it's just copper, and it doesn't seem to be interfered. But there are some times where it's just got to come off. And so, but if we understand that whatever energies we're putting out, that it may be too much for that which we're wearing. We just have to pay attention to that. If I've been really sad or something, and my friend passed away, and I'm really, I do not want that negative energy going into my crystal. So I might want to hold a crystal to help me with my anxiety and my sadness. But at the same time, I don't want that energy to be absorbed into my quote everyday crystal or whatever, because it's going to muck with the energy. It's going to confuse it. And it not only does it need cleansed and recharged, but it needs to get off of me because of the mood that I'm in, and it's absorbing it because it does, right? So, we have to, I guess it's showing respect to even inanimate objects. But there are folks who will, make up excuses and, but I'm just saying, this is my, my 2 cents on this. But after all of these years, I still give my regards to Broadway. Give my regards to Broadway, blah, blah, blah. No, but give my regards to those things which I feel I need to have around me or to use, or I wish to use, or, whatever the reason. Always give it honor, always, state my intentions, and always stick to those things. But anyway, but people will find um, their own measure, with their own levels or whatever. It's okay. But I'm just saying, in the law of yin and yang, if you wear something all the time, there's no yin and yang, period. Just it's as simple as that. But I like to wear it. Okay. And it feels good. Okie dokie. But have you thought about what it wants? But it's just a rock. It's more than that. And that's the whole point of this conversation about them, is that, in order to bridge the realms, we have to understand that even a tree or a rock or a crystal or whatever it is, it has value. It has some type of energy. And so in the grand scheme of the universe, we must honor and respect those things. Well, it's just a stick. Yeah, but that stick was part of a big tree that was old. and had a lot of wisdom in it. Yeah, but this is just a twig from a big oak tree that was, that's 100 years old and wisdom. So it's not just a stick. It's a stick from an ancient tree that has wisdom and knowledge. And I think there are magical and beautiful. What are? I'm puffing. Right. I'm going to live now on Instagram. I'm going to plug your channel. Love you, Pearl. Keep up the good work. You might be the only stone-free soul triber. Maybe. Yep. And here's the thing, Delaney. I was sitting here, and Michelle, you might be the only one that's stone-free. That's just interesting in the statement. But I picked up some amethyst when I was at Serpent Mound and some other rocks. And I was thinking to myself that, Michelle, I would love to send you the piece of this amethyst. And Delaney said, my very first crystal was amethyst. And so I was like, I bought the amethyst for when I bought it. I just knew that there were people who would need some amethyst. And I was just I wasn't sure who, but your Q ray has magnets in it. My connection ain't working. I'm back. Well, that crap. Yeah, black tourmaline. And I'm wearing some very dark green tourmaline. I've showed this before. For protection and for other things, but it will scream at me to take me out, to take it off. But I have mined black tourmaline myself in North Georgia. And I have black tourmaline stones, and it's very hard. Especially black tourmaline is very brittle, and it makes horrible jewelry. Okay, but within its own rock base and the stone itself, I have tourmaline all around the house and around up here. I think there's even a piece at the top of the property to help ward off the evil critters, because of what I believe, tourmaline does, black tourmaline. So, but a lot of different people use tourmaline, different colors and this and that. And I would say, okay, if it works for you, but just understand that, like for anything, for me, I can't wear black tourmaline. It doesn't want to be worn, but it likes to be. There's a piece of it right down here on the floor. Okay, so I like to be near it. It likes to be near me, but it don't like to be on me. All right. So, but there's tourmaline in the door. There's here. There's over there. There's up by the driveway. So. But anyway, Michelle, if you want, I will pick out a stone. You have metaphorical stones? Never mind. I won't go there. But Michelle, you got my email. If you want a stone, you don't have to keep it. But if you want a stone, I will meditate on it and send you one, because I kind of sort of want to send you one anyway from when I was at Serpent Mound. Your name came up in the hat sort of thing as to, why was I buying X amount of these stones? But anyway, I'm okay. I said that out loud. Apache tier obsidian is good for protection. Yep, it helps with that too. But remember, if you're grieving, that energy is being shared or whatever with the stone. So not only do we have to recharge it, but we have to give the stones a break. Okay, just keep that in mind. I love you all, and I know you use your stones and rocks and things and whatever for, good intentions, but think of the rocks from now on. Well, I've worn this thing for 2 months. Okay, so take it off for a couple days. And you go, but why should I? Because here's the thing. What if you lost it? Like I didn't have my crystal at a puppet show kind of thing. And I realized that I was depending on the crystal when the talent, it was still within me. It was a really hard lesson. And I like to messed it up. Okay. So, by relying too much on something when we need to use our natural talent. So you wear something that makes you feel good, and not to say that, you're trying to not feel good, but in respect and honor to the universe, if I like something well enough, I'm going to take my crystal off and go, you're going to hang up for a couple of days. You need a break, my friend. And it shows the universe, it shows the stone or the wood, whatever it is that you honor it. Now, I know that that's like a really big leap for some folks. But the more that I learned about the shaman in training, how can you really use a crystal to heal if you don't give it the respect that it needs? Yes, and when you hold it, place it in your receptive hand and not your projective hand. If you're right-handed, put it in your left or vice versa. David, that's not always true. Sometimes there are crystals that I would normally hold in my right hand. It don't work. So this idea that that's always the way it works, it might be the Heoki. It might be the reverse is true. So that's my point about being aware of the universe and being aware of the stones and the rocks. There's lots of stuff I normally would hold in my left hand, and I go to put them there, and I go, not today, and I switch hands. So we have to be aware of that, because sometimes your frequency might be going in the opposite direction. And yes, the crystal's good, but not in the hand that you think. And I have forced it and gotten ill from doing it. And that, well, it's supposed to be in my left hand, but it's supposed to be in my left. And my right kept going, no, over here. So in understanding the shaman of things, it's that there is sometimes it goes the other way. And that is natural. What's unnatural is that it always goes this way every time. That's false, because it doesn't always work that way. Storms don't always come from the northwest. Storms don't, down here in the south, they don't always come from the Gulf. I mean, there's just, there are certain weather patterns, but it isn't always that way. So it is the same when we learn to honor and respect the crystals and and so forth, in that you say, maybe, and you say, what I ask the crystal is left hand or right hand. Before I say, okay, you're going in my left hand, I ask it, okay, here's a crystal. All right. Ask the crystal, which hand do you want to be in today? Right hand, hold it. Left hand, hold it, and say, okay, which do you want? So when you take that leap of faith and allow yourself to let the crystals and whatever objects it are to speak to you, and you listen and honor them by listening, there's a whole nother level of something. I can't explain it. When I realized that, all of a sudden I realized that I could access any of my crystals from Tennessee. I didn't have to have a crystal in my pocket to access the energy from the crystal, you see. Oh, wait, when? Because of the respect and the connections. And when you start paying more attention to that and the yin and the yang of it, I'm just saying, try it, understand it, and hopefully If you have been, you know, in a set in your ways for particular things, that the guys that dance in the circle, and I can't think of it right now, but the whirling dervishes, they don't always go in the same direction. Well, but these guys are going in the clockwise. Yeah, but you might catch them on Friday and they're going the opposite direction. So they don't always go the same direction, because the energies and the earth and the atmosphere and the sun, and there's all these other energies that we're combining and we are a part of. So when we grab a hold of a crystal, or even a piece of wood, whatever it might, or metal or whatever, we have to understand that these are antennas for our energies, and that maybe that rock needs to go in the other hand. Okay, Michelle, I got it. Okay, David, whatever you learn, if it's working for you, okie dokie. But I used to feel that same way years ago, and I have learned differently. So, just saying, let me know in a couple of years if you still feel that way. And I mean that, because I sure changed my mind, but it was changed for me. Okay, so just saying, cheers. I know a lot of folks disagree with some of the stuff I talk about, but that's okay. But my point is that I'm supposed to show you that there is more to this, and that sometimes we get into a rut and we feel that we're doing the right thing, when actually maybe we aren't, because we're not really listening. We're putting our thoughts forward. Well, if I wear this all the time, I'm protected. Well, okay, but all the time, does that mean like 24/7, forever and ever and ever, you're never going to take it off? Is really, honestly, is that respecting that which you are asking to be faithful and honest to you? You want the crystal to work for you, so you don't want to, in my humble opinion, I don't want to force myself on anything. So, but anyway. Oh, is Nate a whirling dervish? And but see, that might be the way that he's also connecting to the universe in some way. But anyway, I don't want to create any kind of animosity with folks or anything. But I'm just here to tell you that I've been through several different layers with crystals and jewelry and stuff. And I'm just saying, in your own experience, just remember, there is the yin and yang of the universe, and the honor to all things. Yep. You'll find out on your own, David. Folks are going to find out on their own what works for them. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Some people convince themselves that they're right. Not saying that's you, David. That ain't, no. But I've seen people, abusive women, that keep going back. Well, I don't really like to be beat on, but they always go back and they always get beat on. So it's like but anyway, uh but it is to understand that in the universe, though, having the respect for an ant, and you go, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, having the respect for an ant. Well, I don't really like ants. They got in the house, they bite me, they leave whelps on me. Okay, but in general, though, these tiny little critters, for what they can do and what they achieve, and whatever good they are, they clean up scrap and stuff of this and that, and they're always looking, they're always hungry, they're always, there's a lot of things that you could respect of an ant, being tiny and all this other kind of stuff, right? So it's, but when you see the ant and can respect the ant, even though I spray at the door to keep them the heck out of my house, uh, I want them to respect my territory. I respect theirs. Um, but I don't want to pick on the ants. You know what I mean? Even though I feel like sometimes they're picking on me. But in the smallest of things in the universe, when we understand that, okay, and well, I'm going to be like this, and we convince ourselves that, that putting out ant poison all over 10 acres of property is going to get rid of all the ants, and on that, you don't think about what that ant poison might be doing to the rest of the ecosystem. But my point is that, so I respect ants. I respect the small things in the universe. And there are small things that we don't see that sometimes we interact with them by our behavior, by sometimes our perspective. I'm not picking on you, David. I swear I'm not. But our perspective. Well, the moon looks okay to me tonight versus the moon looks a little tilted to me tonight. So perspective. We're both looking at the moon. Are either of us right or wrong? Only in our perspective, in our understanding of what we're seeing, in our interpretation, and how it gets into our eyes and our brain and what we see. Right. So, but understanding, the more we understand the quantum of things in the universe, that one tiny atom, if we bounce it the wrong way, could cascade into, I don't know, a tsunami of negative energy or something. So, when we understand that, oh my God, I don't want to go out there and be throwing my fist at the universe because, I'm pushing, fighting. See you, Ed. I'm fixing to turn in too. It's 2:48 here. At 3 o'clock, I think I'm going to call it quits. But yes, we are all different, and yes, we all have different frequencies, and yes, how we interact and react to things in the universe is different. My reaction, your reaction, someone else's. But here's the thing that um, are kind of sort of rules in the universe, and that if you honor something, it will honor you. Um, and that there are many levels of honor to a single molecule, you know, to a single atom, and you go, well, ain't that getting a little? Not really, because when we make the transition, we're going to become molecules and atoms again. We're going to make that transition. And so, guess what? Our interaction with them now could affect us later on. How do I mean? Well, because our energies get used to it, or we become, for me, it's to being tuned into the right frequencies, and it alters. It's not always the same note. Okay. Hey, Estee, how are you? So, but with that said, you know, what is an A to somebody that feels good to them, it might be an E to somebody else that's playing, you know, a song. One key might be too high for someone to sing or whatever, but somebody else, could sing this in G or E minor, whatever it is. So the understanding, though, that it'll be the same song, it'll be sung. The notes will be very similar, if not exact, but just a different key. So the idea, though, that, well, wait a minute, so I don't have to play this song in A. No, you could play it in E or C. Oh, really? Yeah, you can transpose that song. So you don't have to play it in A. Oh, really? But it says in the book that yeah, I know, but some of us, we can't play that A, but we can play it in G, and it'll play like this, and you can play it in C. Oh my goodness. Wow. I see what you mean. So in understanding the universe, it may be the same song, but in a different key. And one key may be appropriate for a certain group of people who have a propensity to be able to sing in C versus A, just saying. So we respect the people who are, who are sopranos. I can't sing that high, but, the sopranos wouldn't be anywhere if they didn't have a little alto and a little bass throat in there in the chorus. You see what I mean? The harmony of things. So the same thing with chords. So, you play chords, or you play the note, or you play the chords. So the idea, though, that, in the universe, one day you play the song in A, and the next day you play the same song in G. Is one better or worse than the other? No. It's that on this day it feels better to play it in A, and on this day it feels better to play it in G. Is there anything wrong with that? No. It's the understanding that both are correct, and that sometimes one is needed more than the other. Okay? So in the music of the universe, it can be the same melody, just in a different key. Why? Because, well, the earth and the solar system, and sometimes it doesn't sound right in A. Sometimes you just gotta play it in G, whatever that song is. So, but if you don't understand that that you can transpose it into a different chord and it sounds better on certain dates or whatever, that if you don't know that, if you don't understand it, then you're stuck with always playing in A. And your diversity to the universe is now limited because you have learned to play this song in A. And that's the only way that you can play it. And we convince ourselves, as I have myself as a guitar player many years ago, that that's the only way this song is played. You can't play it in any other key. And well, but if you hang around other musicians, somebody say, hey, let's pick it up in C. And you go, what? And they go, yeah, try it in C. And you go, oh my God, wow, I didn't know I could play that song in C. So the understanding of the universe is that we learn to play a song with A, whatever the major chord is, or minor. But you are convinced that's the only way you can play the song. And in the universe, that's not the truth. There are many ways to play the song. And on certain days, it's for you and who you're sitting around and who might be doing, harmony with you, that, this particular key works best for the people around you, or the energies, or the people's voices, right? I'm thinking of the theater group, and there were some folks that could sing a little higher. There were some folks that needed to be a little lower, And so, but in the universe, both are correct. There isn't a right or wrong about it. But for a long time, I was convinced that certain songs you couldn't play in any other key. So the more we understand the diversity of the music in the universe, this is just an example, but that this diversity, and that like a certain day may need you want to hear, you might want to listen to the Moody Blues, and then someday you might want to listen to some old rock and roll and some Little Richard, Long Tall Sally Still, Pretty Tricks and all, everything that Uncle John needs, oh baby, oh, yeah, come on now, Long Tall Sally, yeah, absolutely. But so, sometimes, you want to listen to a little bit of blues, or maybe you want to listen to some reggae and some Bob Marley, Every little thing is going to be all right. Toot, toot, toot. Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing is going to be all right. Anyway, yes, we're all frequencies. Different crystals work differently to different frequencies. That is why I suggest letting a crystal pick you when you go to your local crystal shop. Hold it and see. Yep, I always ask the crystal. Absolutely, David. Always, But here's the interesting thing. I have picked, I won't go into the stories, but, if you hung around and heard my story about the flute player, Doc, and the exchange of crystals and things when my pops died and back and at the hospital, and the story of the crystal and Doc and me and him and the flute and back and forth over the years. The story still goes on, it's just amazing over a crystal, and I have been very lucky, knock on wood, that if I picked a crystal out for someone, I always give them the option of two other crystals. So out of these three, which one would you pick? Now I pick one that, like, the crystal calls to me, okay, this is the one I think they're going to like. But then I pick two others, not just at random, to like make this one stick out more. But, okay, anybody else? And I go, okay, you. And okay, and you over here. Okay, put them in my hand and go, all right, now you hold them, you pick them. Which one do you like? And 99 out of 10, I've been correct with being able to give them a crystal that works for them. I've been very lucky, very fortunate. And I've made a mistake or two. But in the long run, though, I'm very fortunate that my spirit guides have helped other people by my choices of stones. And like I said, they've always had the opportunity to keep it or reject it without any hurt feelings, right? But they always go, oh, wow, I really like this one, and then I'll tell them later on, that's the one I chose for you, and if it wasn't, I'll say, well, I really chose this one, but you picked this one. I am honest with them, but I don't tell them ahead of time, and I don't think about, like, ooh, pick the one in the middle or the one. Nope, I don't go there. So, but it's been a very interesting over my many years of giving away crystals and so forth that I've been more right than wrong. And I continue to hope that my sky buddies and the spirit guides will continue to help me in that effort. It's one of those things that I've learned. It's not what I want or what I think they should have. I ask the universe, what do they need? Which crystal do they need? And I'll ask, like, there's 20 of them up there in the window upstairs, and I'll go up there and go, okay, and a friend of mine needs a crystal. Any of you want to go? And my friend is such and such, and I'll think, okay, any of you crystals here and up there? And I'll walk through the house. Any of you want to? I have a friend of them in need that needs a crystal. Anybody volunteering, kind of thing. And sometimes it'll be like, me over here. You only go with moonstones. Yes. And one of the things about a local crystal store, and you have to just be aware of this, is that a lot of other people have probably handled that stone, and it may not have been washed in a long time or ever really cleansed, so that when you pick up a crystal, just remember that other folks have picked it up, and whatever energies you might feel or something or whatever, you kind of have to allow yourself to discern, wait a minute, is this the crystal? Is this how I'm reacting? And I always ask myself, who else has handled this thing? Is this fresh out of, has it been to many shows? And especially at Indian powwows, and most of the time the people will know where their crystals come from. And they go, well, I just got this batch in from such and such, and I've only had this set of crystals, this is my first trip. And meaning that probably if this is the first time they've brought it out and they've displayed it, probably not many people have handled it, manhandled it, or whatever. So the energy is probably more pure. And if you talk with the vendors, so like this one lady I'm thinking about, she was like, oh, yes, I talk to my crystals all the time, and I want to make sure they're clean for people. And she was like, oh, and this batch over here. And so sometimes it's good to talk to the people who work with the crystals who have them. Now, if it's just a store and they're in a bin, well, then it's just you and it, right? Giveaway always make me happy for the other. I don't care about material. Yeah, sea salt is best. If you got Himalayan or whatever, okay, but just regular salt works. And I've noticed that for some of my amethyst, they really like moonbeams. Don't let it sit in the salt for long. Just dip it in and let it sit. I disagree, David, but here we disagree again. There are some crystals, depending on how much energy they have absorbed, um, they need to sit in the salt. They need to sit in it. They need to, because the salt will act like a sponge and pull out any energies. If you just dip something into salt water, that ain't doing it. Some crystals need to sit and soak with salt all over them. They really need it. Okay. So this just dipping it in salt, in my humble opinion, after many years, that might work for you, okie dokie, but you may not really be getting it clean either. So I always ask the crystal, you know, but I always make sure there's plenty of salt. It's always more salty than it needs to be. And drop it in and let it sit for a couple hours. Goodbye, and pick it up and go. Are you done yet? No, put me back. Down it goes. Now, I'm not talking about jewelry. I'm talking about just plain crystals. Just rocks, just crystals. So if you got a piece of jewelry and there's something on it, then no, I would not soak it in, for a long time in salt. Okay. I'm talking about just the rocks themselves, no jewelry. Okay. Now for me, see, I can take this stone out of the setting and soak it, but not everything is like that. But I've got several books who talk about sea salt, and they all recommend that at least sea salt, but that you let it soak in there, you know. Yeah, just the raw rocks. Again, I know, David, you probably learned differently. It's okie dokie if that's the way you think. I'm nobody's saying yes or no, but in all of my experience in cleansing and so forth, some people say, well, I can't deal with this rock anymore. What do I do? Here, I make them up a little batch of, uh, sea salt or salty water. Go, just put your crystal in here. Just drop it in, you know. But please, it's a natural thing, right? And so, I mean, I wouldn't leave it in there for months. Don't get me wrong, okay? But overnight, a couple of hours, something like that is not going to hurt them. All right, they will love you for it. But there are some rocks that have been so tainted that I go to pick them up out of the salt, and they go nap. In fact, I've even had the extent that apparently there was so much negative energy in some of the rocks that I was cleansing. I had to pour the water out and put new salt in. That they were like, "Don't you put me back down in there," but I ain't done yet. What? Yep. Pour that water out because whatever the salt had absorbed, they did not want to be put back in that brine. And so I'm like, okie dokie. So you kind of listen to yourself, and it's like, so, well, but it's just salt water. No, when you really pay attention to the little tiny small things in the universe, sometimes changing the water out, sometimes letting them sit a little longer, sometimes that's listening to the molecules in the universe. Now, I know everybody's going to have different opinions on this. I understand. I'm just pointing out that there is even more to this than some people. Uh, I'm not criticizing anybody for what they do, David. I'm not. This ain't about that. Okay, this is not about criticism. This is about different points of view on this. And my lifelong, for the last 20 years and or longer with soaking it goes back longer than that, but for the last 20 plus years, I've been soaking them in sea salt and salt water and so forth, and very good results. Moonstone goes well with my hormones. It keeps it stable instead of jumping all over. Cool beans. And again, there'll be certain times, but my in this understanding of the discussion of rocks, if you really want to put something on or put it in your pocket or be around it or something, and for some reason you feel like no, maybe not, follow that. Don't insist that the rock work for you, because that's not being, honorable in the universe. It's like I'm going to use this crystal and it's going to be my slave. To those folks who understand certain things about crystals, that there are entities that live within and use these crystals. And, would you literally want to make a prisoner of an entity or an energy from a crystal? And so it's like, what, so depending on where you understand crystals are and what you feel they are and what they represent. And, there are some crystals I look into it and I go into another dimension. There's another place in there, right? So, but I can't make that crystal do what I want. I can ask it, and I can like really, really, really ask it, like this one crystal over here. And are some times when I can ask, look, will you ride with me today in my pocket? And they go, no, sorry, pick another one. And I'll go, okay. But I have to respect it as much as I grab for that stone every time because of the necessity of me needing the energy from that rock. It sometimes just says, sorry, dude, not today. Pick another day. Okay, I have to respect that. But if you're not paying attention to it, you might be carrying around something that's really going to interfere with your energy. It may be the same rock, but it may be the wrong day. Okay. So, but just that's what I'm trying to explain. I'm not trying to push anything on anyone, but please understand there's more to it. Yeah. And it's more about not just owning them, Michelle, because there are some that stay in the windows and so forth, but because for me here at the house, there isn't any anger. So, but, there have been times when there was a lot of anger here in the house, people screaming and hollering, and I just had to go take my rocks and just take them outside, because they were absorbing all of this negative energy. And the last thing I want done is for any of these crystals to absorb energy. Well, it's over in the window. Yeah, but there's hollering and screaming going on. So if there's a lot of tension and things, that sometimes it may be that there are certain crystals that could be promoting it, or that because of arguing or negative energy that they have collected, unbeknownst to you, well, it's been sitting in the window. Yeah, but it's been listening. Well, what do you mean, Dave? Well, it's sitting over there in the window, but it's been listening the whole time. It's been listening to my conversations. It's been listening to people who come in and visit me. Those crystals, yeah, they're sitting in the window, but they have been paying attention the whole time, you see, sort of like our subconscious. And so, and to be honorable to the rocks and to the spirits that live there and live within the rocks, what? Yeah, there are those folks who believe that there are entities that live within the rocks. So that's one of my things about sometimes you just have to take it off, because what about the entity or the energy that lives within the stone? Well, what do you mean, Hawkeye? Well, have you asked it? I mean, so, but anyway, so that if you understand or your belief in could reside within the crystals or whatever, they are definitely pathways into different dimensions and energies. Because if you just focus on one part of a particular crystal, especially if you're doing it right, oh my God, you'll just go off on your own little trip and you won't need any wash or no washing machines or any mushrooms or anything like that. If you meditate on certain crystals and, on one side of it, on one end of it, you can get all kinds of different results from the same crystal. But with that said, that means that the crystal doesn't necessarily want to be near you, be beside you, or is your slave in that respect. So, people are going to do what they're going to do. But for a shaman in training like myself, I had to understand that there are layers and layers and layers and layers, just not just about crystals, but of the rocks and of trees and things, and that we have, I say we, for us to really get the connection with the quantum, you got to recognize it. Well, I don't recognize it. Yeah. Okay, dope. All right. That's your right. You believe what you want. But for those folks who I've talked to that I've learned from, they have talked to me about the minute. We must understand how the minute works in the universe and how honor is in all things. So, and we have to take ourselves out of the absorbent. Yes, Michelle. And certain rocks can be very absorbent. So, and they will retransmit that energy back out. Or, if there's hollering all the time, then it will resonate a certain frequency and could actually make it worse. And so, but the answer is, take them out of the house or make sure, that, certain stones are better than others. Like, a pure white crystal might be more for high energy and really put it out there. Whereas uh, um, amethyst is more calming, soothing, and that kind of thing. So, find out and read more than one book. I've got 4 different crystal books and they only agree on certain aspects. Okay. So out of these 4 different books, and some of them are very popular, especially back in the day, I shake my head and go, okay. But then I throw in what these writers of crystal books have done. And I've learned from Native Americans and from shamans. And well, this part is true. And this part is sort of true. But the rest of this is just bullshit, that these crystal books are trying to pump out. And well, this is good for that. And that was, listen, you need more than one opinion with this stuff. Yeah. The amethyst for me, especially, but there are other stones, don't get me wrong. But the amethyst really like to be in the moonlight. But all the crystals, take them out and let them give them a good moon bath, if you will. I think of the Adams family when they used to go out at full moon and sit in the outside, and Morticia would have her little thing up under here and everything. Yeah, I have lots of friends who justify is the only way to. Yeah, but the for charging them, but also always remember one of the first things I learned from a native gentleman years ago, and also from a lady, also Native American. But they were like, um, take the crystal, and if you want to charge the crystal to help you to be calm, then you hold the crystal when you're calm and then blow softly at the top of it or the side or whatever, and that you blow the energy, the frequency. So if I'm in a bad mood, I don't try to charge a crystal. So I'm in a good mood. It's been cleaned and everything. And I pick it up and I go, I wish to use you for good, for love, to help me. And, and state your purpose with the crystal and then slowly blow on it. Just, and state your intent and blow upon it. And like I said, I always give a kiss to my crystals, especially those that work with me all the time, to honor them and to let them know this is how I feel about you. And you go, well, no, that's giving honor, Well, I kissed the rock. Yeah. 1037 equals 11. What? Yeah, everything is connected. So, but anyway, understand it's, it's every day is not should never be just meat and potatoes. Every day is not meat and potatoes. Some days it's something else. So the diet of all things. So different crystals have different functions. Absolutely. Don't grab a hammer if you need a screwdriver. Absolutely. I agree with you, David. And there's a lot of, there is a shovel nose, and there are the white clear crystals, and then there are the white crystals that are like white, but they're clear, but they're white versus clear. And then there are, I have rudolized quartz, which is very interesting to use, by the way. And then I have smoky quartz. I think I'm going to show this just because we're yakking about it. But see, here's some black tourmaline in a sort of a quartz matrix kind of thing. And I dug these out of North Georgia and mined them, carried them out. I mean, this is pretty heavy rock. And there's mica in this. And then there's this big chunk of black tourmaline in the matrix. Another piece of it up here. Another piece back here on the back. And there's other, if I was to break this rock, there might even be some more in here. But for me, it's doing what it's doing, right? It's sitting down here. And then two minutes before another bowl, and I wasn't going to be here this long, but this is a heavy son of a bitch right here. But this is a piece of smoky quartz, and basically it's sort of in a matrix. There's some some of the base rock is still here. Rose quartz is awesome as well. Yes, absolutely. But each one of them has their own particular uses. But this rock sits down here on underneath. And I traded this. It came out of Brazil. I traded this I replaced a commode for a guy in a bathroom, in a trailer for him. Fixed up his bathroom, and he gave me this rock. So, but anyway. So, and let me tell you, that is a powerful rock right there. Let me tell you. But to the point though, it's 20, right? Yep, 320. So, all right. I don't claim to know everything about the rocks and so forth, but I've read so many books, listened to so many lectures, and I've lived with them and worked with them. And so, I've got 50 years of experience with crystals. Okay. So am I correct? It's my opinion. If I was to get out my rocks and like do a show, it would take me 2 hours to get through some of the rocks that I have. I mean, like, here's one, show it around, blah, 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 and then get another one. Here's one, blah, 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 and show it around. Um, oh, let me show you a rock since I'm talking about it. This is one I got from my nephew, Andy. Now, this rock was found on top of a mountain in Tennessee. Now, this rock on top of this mountain in Tennessee does not belong with the rocks on top of the mountain in Tennessee. This is a rock that is come from some other place. And when you look at it, quite frankly, it has been deemed that this is a meteorite. This came out of the sky and landed on this mountain. And that was much bigger than this. This is like a third of it. And part of it was sent to the University of Tennessee to be checked for meteorite or whatever, and it got lost. And nobody reported on it. They lost the rock, and nobody knew. And, well, we don't know nothing about it. Nobody sent us no rock, So, and my nephew wanted me to have it. So, in looking at it and seeing it and go, I've been on the, on mountains and so forth, and you don't find this kind of rock. It almost looks, it's volcanic. Okay. It's got pock marks in it, up there, and, the rocks are more smooth, and no, they don't look like this. So where did this rock come from? And I was holding it like I am now, just here in my hand, this particular way. And I looked at my nephew and I said, I'm looking at this, and where they broke it open and all the pits and everything down inside, like, see that hole right there? Put your finger in it, and the side of the rock. Okay. So where did air holes come from out of a rock, right? That is sitting on top of a mountain where most of the rocks are smooth, they're not as jagged, right? And so this is out of place when I'm sitting holding it, and I'm going, I looked at my nephew and I said, this rock ain't from around here. It just ain't from around here. As many years as I've been in the mountains and all the rocks that I've picked up, and you got this where? No, this rock ain't from around here. And that's all I can say about it. But this rock's from outer space. That's all there is to it. Can I prove it? They tried to, but when you look at the holes down deep in it, it's almost like limestone in ways with air pockets. And I'm sorry, but tops of mountains in the Smokies don't have. And this would, and it doesn't chip easy, so it's fairly hard. It's not like a sandstone or a pumice. So, but it's fairly heavy too. But when I look at how it's carved out and stuff, I think to myself, when I think about metal and how, you can heat stuff up and it conjugates and recools and stuff, I'm going, this thing was on fire. Water sponge from the galaxy. It's something. It looks like a mini asteroid. Yeah, and this thing was like, it was big. It was, this is just half of they broke it into thirds, okay? And he had two pieces, and he said, pick one. And I picked this one and brought it home. But to the point, though, this just ain't natural, okay? Not on the Smokies, on top of a mountain, sorry. But anyway, can I prove it? No, but I can look at it and go, this, So I've got literally rocks from around the world and I've got this rock, which we honestly feel is from another place, someplace else. So ain't that just cool? Is all I got to say. Does that make me feel special? In a way, yeah, but you know, not to the point. I feel humbled at the fact that because I was like not going to take it, and he goes, "No, you pick. You take one of those pieces, right?" Okay, are you sure? Yeah, take one of them. All right, so I picked this one, but to the point though, it looks really good over there at the corner of the window. So, um, and we hit the 26 mark. Anyway, you could have a lot of dollars in the rock. Yeah, I could. The holes were burnt through by the atmosphere as it came in, probably. That's what it actually feels like, David, and having worked with metal and casted, I've cast metal and die cast and, all kinds of, uh, uh, stamping tools and things. I mean, I've worked in a lot of different types of metallurgy in my lifetime. So you don't get holes in the inside of rocks like that without something else going on. I've broken too many rocks open and, up there at Chunky Gal and looking for rubies and so forth and breaking open rocks and looking for, amethyst too, but like the black tourmaline. You had to break the rock open to see if there was tourmaline in it, so you got to break the rocks. You might break the crystal, so you have to be careful with how you dig them out and what you're beating on and that kind of stuff. But and all the stuff that I have pulled out of the ground and beat on and done and all these kinds of things don't look like that rock right there, especially where it was at. That's the most important part. Now, if I was out west or something, I would say, yeah, I probably wouldn't look at that rock twice, right? But on top of Old Smoky, where the things are smooth and rounded and they just don't look like that, you go, wait a minute, something's out of place here. Have you tried? Actually, I haven't, and that's a good. I don't know where a magnet is at the moment, but I got a big round sort of magnet that came out of the speaker. So, but no, that's an interesting, yeah, and I should try it out in different places on it too. Uh, you know what? Somewhere I've got one of those magnets that you reach down and get nuts and bolts out of places. I'll look around for a magnet, but that's a good idea to check and see. But it's just a look of it. But the other thing was, as I was holding it, I could see it hurtling through space. I know that sounds crazy, but I have, there are times when I've picked up rocks and things and stuff and different stuff, and I've connected to things with objects with people or places or something. But anyway, so it's been sort of one of those side technique thingies that I've developed over the years, like going down in the woods and finding deer antler, on the river, just from out of nowhere kind of thing. I mean, just you find stuff or you understand. Anyway, so, but just in holding the thing, I was like, this just ain't from here. I've got rocks that came from caves. I've dug up my own crystals and they feel like the earth. This doesn't feel like the earth. You know what I mean? It does not feel like it's from here. So a compass won't care for it much and will go a little freaky about us. Yes, actually, I do have a compass. Um, but I've moved the some bitch. Meteor or not, it's a really cool rock. And, knowing where it came from and having been up there and seen the rocks and stuff around it, it's out of place. For whatever reason, for however it got there, it ain't from there. That's all. It's a meteorite. That's the best explanation because just the way it looks. Now, if I was down on the Flint, there are pock marks in the rocks because of the difference in pH from the river to the limestone, and it eats it away and stuff, and the water permeates through the limestone, and if it's more pH than not, it'll dissolve the limestone. So limestone's got all these little crevices and caves and stuff in it, but that rock ain't limestone. It's really dense, and it was on the top of Old Smoky. That's the big thing. It wasn't down in the valley. It was on top of Old Smoky. Yeah, honestly, I have like tried not to think of it from outer space, and every time I touch it, it's like I'm from outer space. I know I'm a stoned hippie, but I mean, I pick it up and go, my God, this is from outer space. It just don't have that earthly something to it, that I pick up this rock and I go, yeah, this is got a really, salt of the ocean kind of feel. But uh, I'm trying to think of where my compass is. Hang on a second. It may be closer than I think. Ah, ha, ha, my compass. I've got this little, fanny pack here that's got the dumbest shit in it. But if I go somewhere, it's got to go with me. I'm absolutely nuts about it. Well, Chloe, here's the thing about my feel of things. Now just for myself, this is not like, oh, well, you must believe me or whatever. Um, it's slow to come around. My intuitions have been more right than I would really like to admit. Uh, like, the really heavy duty deep one. Now, see, east has moved. If this is really pointing north, magnetic north has moved a bunch. Holy crap. Wowzers. But, and, one of my big ones that I talked about is that going to town that time in December, and on the way home, there was that accident where we saved that gentleman. Um, and saved him when he lost his leg. I'm moving the rock around by the. Whoa, what was that about? That was interesting. Well, see you, Chloe. I would have been gone by now, but I found the compass, and this compass is in a fluid, and it's really slow to like settle down. I need to have my other compass, which is just a needle sitting on a point, and it reacts really quick. This is seems to be having a little bit of reaction, Dave, or y'all. But to your point, David Castle brought it up. I want to find my other. I'll look for my other um, compass. It's my old Boy Scout compass, you know, 60 some years later. I still got it. But anyway, my dear friends, yeah, night, Chloe. I have an antique compass just like that. Yeah, um, mine's over yonder somewhere. But anyway, yeah, I'll get it and see if uh, how it reacts to the rock. But there was a jump all of a sudden when I turned it to one side, and then it wouldn't settle that back down. So I'll try it with another compass. But anyway, so I hope this was informative. Understand that, if you read a book or two, that's just only part of what's going on. And as you grow older, allow yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically to allow yourself that maybe there's more to something than I can see. That's all. Just keep your awareness open, because when you get into a rut, and any kind of rut, no matter what that rut might be, in a belief system, it may be that you're missing out something. Just just saying. I know I missed out on a lot for quite a few years because I was sort of frozen in time. For example, I couldn't communicate with the spirits without having some kind of big formal, ceremony with a drum and a fire and full, regalia. And I can't talk to the spirits without it, kind of thing. And that's just nonsense. But you have to learn it on your own. People tried to tell me, and other folks tried. There were shamans that said, you're gonna, Hawkeye, one of these days, when you walk the path long enough, you'll understand that whether you're wearing moccasins or not, it doesn't matter. Now, think about what I just said. If you're walking the path, the red road, you will find that whether you have moccasins on or not, that it doesn't matter. You'll think you have moccasins on, but maybe you're barefoot. And you may, have moccasins on and think that you are barefoot. So it's like, but what? But both are right and both are correct. But it's the understanding of that, wait a minute, I'm walking the path, the spirit path, the red road, and it feels like I'm wearing moccasins. And, you might be barefoot. That's how spiritually you come, in that, you not necessarily that you have manifested um, moccasins, but that spiritually it doesn't matter if you what you feel like you have the moccasins on, because you're so comfortable with being barefoot or being, that's the point. It's like, oh wow, so there are certain things that in life you will just go, so after a while, and go, well, I can't walk up the driveway unless I got my moccasins on. And then one day I realized I was halfway up the driveway and I was barefoot. So when did that transpire? But it felt like I had moccasins on to myself, thought I had my flip flops on. I looked down and went, whoa, crap, I'm barefoot. Let me go back to the house and put my flip flops on, because there's rocks and stones up on the driveway and it gets a little hard to walk. But I was halfway there before I realized I needed something else, right? So I understand that story, or that understanding of, of the sort of a parable in a way, our relationship to the spirit world and our relationship to the physical world, and that this is how you can kind of see where you are with this, and that when you realize, oh wow, I've been barefoot the whole time, or you know what I mean. So anyway, I haven't end. Okay, so it's 7:11 and it's 3:40 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time here in Southwest Georgia. I love you all. I do. For those of you that are still here, Chloe, you're probably in bed. David, thank you for the discussions. Um, yeah, I'm going to check it out with that's a good suggestion about that. So just bear in mind some of the things I've said about jewelry and things. They will collect energy all on their own. And we need to understand that our connection to the universe and with them is based on, our respect for the tools that we have. So we have built-in moccasins. Yeah, not in every situation now. I can walk in the grass now, but going up the hill where the rocks are, kind of thing. Yeah, I'm not too good with the barefoot part of that. That hurts. But anyway. So good night, David. Thank you for your discourse. Elderberry and Michelle, always thank you. Chloe for hanging out. Anybody else in the background back there, we share the love, and that understand that what's good for us may not be the answer for everyone else. But the answer for everyone else is this is a place to start. Understand there's a yin and yang, there's a not necessarily a light and a black, but it's the harmony of things. And that when we learn about our own frequencies and when we connect with the universe, when we continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe, we'll understand what these frequencies all mean and what they mean to us and how they may relate to other people. So, Esty, you there as well? So, keep the faith, my friends. Believe, 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 believe. Don't give up. Don't give in. The last couple of days, I just haven't felt quite right. And I just, felt like, there was a part of me today that was like, are you giving up, Hawkeye? And it's like, no. Well, then what are you doing? Well, the humidity was really high today. It wasn't that hot, but oh my God. And, all it took was like 10 minutes and I was like sweating to beat the band and like that just don't work for me. So I think right now it is best that I'm hibernating inside, but I don't like it. I really want to be outside, but the humidity just sucks. But anyway, hey, D Ocean, how y'all? Well, I'm fixing to get off here after 3 hours and 17 minutes almost. I'm sorry to run out on you, but you're welcome to go back and listen and hang out with us. But I do continue to learn about the respect of nature and the respect of things and how the connections, and about the time you think you got it figured out, if you allow your awareness to stay open, then something else will pop in and you go, holy crap, I hadn't really thought about that, or I hadn't included that into my, oh wow. And so, yeah, D Ocean, it's good to see you. Absolutely. And, wishing you well and cosmic hugs and all that good stuff. But so our perspective of things, and let me add this since we were talking about rocks just a bit ago. I've noticed that if I was wearing a particular piece of jewelry, which usually had a crystal or a stone of some kind in it, or I was holding or like was really close to certain crystals, that they affected my mood. And there were times when I was like, wow, I really feel bitchy and kind of itchy, blah, blah, blah. And I moved a crystal and it was like it went away. And I went, oh, because it's a really big, white, heavy duty, like shoot some juice out to the universe. And it was too much nearby. And, and it hangs out around, there's one over there and one under this chair kind of thing. And there's a big, smoky quartz down there. And it just kind of likes it down there, And when I pick it up, it's still got good energy and all that kind of good stuff, because like I said, a year ago, there was a lot of yelling and screaming from other folks and a lot of animosity. And I was trying to keep it out of the house and trying to keep the house clean and, just smudging with sage, just don't do it. When you got as many rocks and things as I do, you got to get them out of the house. You got to get them out in some water, at least. I took a lot of them to the river. And some of the crystals I took with me on the trip sat in not for long, but they sat in a cold flowing stream, to get repowered and rejuvenated and to have nature on them. So there are people who go, well, why do you do that with the crystals, Hawkeye? To give them respect. Well, what do you mean? Well, I'm going to the mountains, and some of these crystals came from the mountains. They love this crystal spring water from the mountains with all the minerals, and that's where they came from. And I'm going to go, and I'm not going to take some of my favorite crystals. I can't take all of them. There's not enough room, right? But I can't take some of them with me. The ones that I use and carry around and are more special than a lot of the others, or to just spread around the house and whatever. I mean, I'm not going to take them. I'm going to take my drum and I'm going to take my flute, but I'm not going to take the crystals. Well, I didn't soak the flute in the water, but because it's not good for it, but I can surely take and find some water, which I did. So, but you say, well, why'd you do it? Well, to honor the crystals. Well, what do you mean? Well, to give them honor. I can smudge them, I can do stuff with the flutes and my drum, but to the crystals, I can sit them in salt water, do all these things, but to really give them honor, I take them back to like a point of origin, and I allow them to be in their natural setting, especially if I'm going to be there. So ain't that like really paying attention? So in my world, I had to take them. I mean, I wanted to, but I mean, understanding what that means to the rocks and my understanding of my relationship to the rocks and my honor to the universe and my honor to those tools that I have, they had to go and I had to take them and they had to go in the water. You know what I mean? So where other people say, I don't understand what you're doing, but okay, um, yeah, they have to visit home, D. That's absolutely right. So, but that's my point, where years ago I wouldn't have considered taking the crystals to water, you know. And I've taken but over the years, this is what I've learned about them. So I've taken my crystals down to the local river many times, but it ain't the same as that mountain water. I'm just saying. So, but to go the extra mile with humble honoring of the crystals and those things, it's just something that you got to do. I mean, I don't even like, well, why would I do that? And I don't even ask that. Now, at some point I did. Like, why do I have this feeling like I have to take these crystals and go put them in a mountain stream? And then the answers came, and then I understood, and then I took crystals to the water, and I experienced it. And also, when you soak them in the water, then you bring that energy back with the crystals, so you still get the water after you've left it. It's so it's like, what do you believe about this? What do you understand about how these small things all add up? Like paying homage, absolutely. And yeah, that's a good way to put it. But just like, my frustration was that, I was with my sister and I couldn't take more of the crystals with me. Okay. And at some point, I'm just going to collect them all up and take them down to the river. But Cowboy sends his purrs your way. Okay. He's loud. But so anyway, so pay homage to respect and honor is those things that, stick in my brain all the time. In order to fully honor the crystals, I'm going to take y'all, on this journey. And, although they weren't in my pocket, they were in the truck kind of thing. So they experienced it, each crystal by itself. I got them out. I sat with a couple of them, put them in the water, and so they know, the crystals know that they went on the ride. They know they went to the mountains. They know that they sat in the water. You know what I'm saying? So when you get to the point where you understand that, they know what you did for them. You see the symbiotic of the universe, you know. Purring like a motorboat. Brrr, right. So, but anyway, so just want to, there are different levels and many different levels. And what I first believe and what I become to believe and what I just in my heart, I just know is true. Like I said, I had to take those rocks, and I really wished that I could have taken more, but circumstances. But the next time I go, and if I'm going by myself and that kind of thing, I will take. I got a whole bag of these things that's going with me, and yeah, I'm going to find some place and camp for the night near some little old stream. It ain't got to be a big one, but so I can put everything there, and so I can do a little ceremony and have the mountain there and some sage and a drum and put them in the water. I mean, and really do it upright. But this just wasn't, the trip for that. But I think the rocks know, I think the crystals know what my intentions were for this trip, and that they want to go back. So, but anyway, and in my humbleness to the universe, I want to take them back with me. I want to go back to the mountains if for no other reason than to do ceremony with and for the crystals, not for any person or place or anything. No, I might pick a place that I would want to do it. But the idea, though, that I would want to go back up there to take the rocks just so I could have ceremony. Well, what does it mean for you or the next person or to the universe? It's my prayer and my respect and my honoring of these rocks and crystals that I've had over the years to say, here, this is for you. This song is for you. The water, I brought you to water, that is for you. That, and thinking about it is like, yeah, they can hear that. But when you actually do it, man, buddy, there's a difference. Yeah, talk to yours like they're people. And for those who believe certain ways about crystals, there are those folks who absolutely believe that there are entities and worlds within some of these crystals. And I won't question what level of belief that you have, because I've had some crystals that I swear there's somebody in there. You know what I mean? And I always talk to all of them, and I'm always giving honor to them. Maybe not as much as I should, but if something's out of whack, I'll move it or cleanse it or whatever. But because, me and the dog get along real well, and then there's no anger and not a lot of negative energy in the house, if any, um, that, things are where they're kind of sitting seem to be pretty calm at the moment. You know what I mean? So, but I still give them honor, and I will still take them out and honor them with just outside in the rain sometimes, which we've had a decent amount. We went from 7 feet on the river to 11 and a half feet in 2 days. That's how much rain we had. Yeah. 2 days, it went up 3 feet, 4 feet on the river. Unbelievable. Was getting ready to go down to the river, much like friends. And maybe Dee, you might understand this, but friends, but in my old age, I understand what a companion is as well. So there are friends, and then there are companions, and your companion could be your friend, but not all friends can be your companion, if you get my drift. Like, I spent 2 weeks with my sister, on vacation. And I asked her before and after, I said, so how was it? Did you want to kill me? No, actually, no. I was, very, very happy and impressed and all that kind of good thing. And we didn't argue and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, um, so we still get along in that area. And there are things that I just have learned in my old age that could have been arguments I just avoided, and was able to look at certain things differently in my old age and keep things calm when they were very tense. And so and rather than argue, I just went along and participated and did the best I could, and kept level head without being obnoxious or anything. So, but so we were companions for that trip. You follow me, as well as brother and sister. But there are some people I just would never travel with. There are some people you can hang out with them for an afternoon or whatever, but you don't want to go camping with. I mean, you just they just think it ain't the same, right? So it's not that you like one group better than another, but these folk, they're campers, and these folks are sitting in a lawn chair in the backyard with, God forbid, propane gas on their, cooking their burgers. But anyway, uh, and people with gas stoves that put wood chips in a thing to cook on, I'm like, why don't you just cook with charcoal and wood chips? But anyway, but so to the point of understanding, though, and the understanding of the world, and how we're all connected, all of these tiny little things, make a difference. But in the respect of all things, sometimes Duggar, wants to, go outside by himself. And there are sometimes he won't go outside unless I'm with him. So, but you have to respect the other, whatever entity it is, whether it's inside a crystal or whether it's your dog. Hey, Ian, how you doing? So, but anyway, and you're just joining, and it's 3:50, and I'm stuck in one position. I've run out of drink, and I need to go. But it's good to, I stay up late just so I can, have a chat with the ocean, and Ian and you folks and SD. Um, take that as a win. If my sister doesn't tell me that I'm going to, yeah, I got you. Well, and my sister and I have not really, been around each other in a bunch of years, So the fact that we didn't argue or, have any arguments for, and bodes well, especially for me, because there was a couple of times when she was really cranky, and she knew it, But to the point, though, I just said, "Okie dokie, you're cranky," But I'm not going to get cranky, and I'm not going to overreact to, because when they're sitting right beside you and they're cranky, they're emitting this energy, and you literally have to go, nope, he ain't gonna get me. No, gonna stay calm. Deep breath, everything's cool. And all there's over here within 6 inches of you is this steaming massive, and you can no, sorry, just calm down. And so knowing that by being calm yourself in sometimes stressful and nasty situations for the other people, the more you keep your calm, you may not understand it, but it would have been a lot worse had I not stayed calm. I'm just saying, because our energies would have fed off, and it would have crinkled up, and there'd have been sparks flying, and then something would have caught on fire. But with that said, though, so how we um, how I interact with, because I see, whoops, there's a potential fire, you know, whoops, this is gonna set the damn truck on fire. This is going to leave a crater in the road. You know what I mean? So I go, nah, I can avoid this. But it's up to me. It's up to how I react or whatever. So uh, I could blame it on my sister and her attitude, which that was true, but also my over or under reaction, which calmed the situation or started a forest fire. So I chose, to stay calm instead of starting a forest fire. So we have these choices all the time. Some people are harder to I say, control. Um, you you can be calm, but there are people who are like, will say, well, all right, now be calm over there. Well, I am calm. Don't tell me to be calm. Don't tell me what to do. You can't go and that, well, I'm just trying to help you. Now, if they make that statement with, don't you tell me what to do and I'll do, you need to go, I understand. I love you. And don't say another mother word. You hear me? Whoa, don't tell me. I'm just, um, I love you. It's okay. I understand. And don't say anything. Don't start, don't try to, well, I was just trying to, don't try to explain it because they ain't listening because they're already somehow in some emotional state. So if you try to explain it to them, they ain't going to listen, you know. That's like I have my brother has an autistic grandchild, and she was very smart and very this, but they were like, uh, her thought process is going so fast. They were like, well, now listen, haven't we told you that when you go to the light and everything up there at the street, and that you remember that you're supposed to? And I said, and I looked at them both, and I said, they're mama and pop, grandpapa, and I said, you're using too many words. And they looked at me and they said, what? And I said, she can't hear you. What do you mean? And I said, you're using too many words. She's already past it. You got to stick to like, you have to tell us if you're going for a walk. Okay. You don't. Well, how many times have we told you you got to tell one of us to go on and if you leave the house, you can't go there. And Michelle, I don't know if you're still with me here, but I don't know if you have this issue with Nate. But there are folks who use way too many words for folks who just need little concise statements. Now, you might need to repeat those little concise statements. But if you're trying to use, well, every time, how many times have we talked about, you can't say that, you can't say it, they don't get it, they don't comprehend it, because if they did, you wouldn't have to repeat yourself. So you have to look at these things. And this should be like a separate video here. But in dealing with folks, well, I just was trying to get my point across. Yeah, but you can't tell me. Well, but listen now, you can't do it. When they give you that signal, those trigger words, you just say, okay. Later on, when they've calmed down, you can, which is what I did with my sister. I said, earlier on, I was just trying to be helpful. I wasn't trying to make you mad or nothing. She looked at me, she goes, I'm sorry, but I was just so tense from the traffic and the narrow roads. And I said, I know. And but I'm working with you here. Just know I love you. And so when she calmed down, she could and then I could tell her, I was just trying to be calm and trying to help you. I know, but at the time she was mad and stressed, that conversation was not going to happen. It was not, it was going to turn into an argument. So you have to be aware of stuff and go, this is not the time. But now with autistic children and just folks with short attention spans and things, you have to keep it concise. Being flowery and talking about it. Remember how many times we talked? No, because they don't. And now you're asking them if they've done something like I'm thinking about I guess she would be my grand niece. that she goes, well, I told you I'm a big girl now and I wanted to be able to do something on my own. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, but how many times have they, every time they start, but how many times have we told but I was just trying to be grown up. And I was just, and it was like, so you had to be very careful when they're in the right mood. When they're doing something, you just say, stop that behavior, or you don't go into. Now you might say, remember, we've talked about this, and what should you do? So rather than talk to them, you take concise words, you know, if they've done something wrong or whatever it is, like, she had went and crossed the street by herself, a 4-lane highway, and, she'd never done that before and that kind of thing. And, yeah, no, but I was right there and, and everything. Well, he had already, my brother had already went down and saw her make the cross. He was at the stoplight. He was going to pick her up, but she left the house. Now, it was only a couple of blocks away, but it was across the four lanes of traffic and the walk and that kind of thing. So she's like, but I want to be a big girl and I know how to do this. And I was like, okay. So to the parents and grandparent, I said, what you do is you allow her to walk by herself, but you walk behind her. And for every time she gets better, you give her more distance. And you say, look, I'm going to walk behind you here, but you're by yourself. I'm going to let you do it all by yourself. I ain't going to say a word, but I'm here if you need me. And give them the confidence. So the next time you say, okay, you're going to do it. You're a big girl now and you can do this thing. You give them the confidence. You keep it simple. I'm right behind you. But, yeah, okay. So you give them the space that they need to be independent. But at the same time, you're not telling them what to do all the time. But if they get into trouble, you're close enough to where you can intervene. I mean, but see, she's 17. See, so it's like, and she knows that she's 17 and she's aware of it, but her brain is still, in second grade kind of thing. She's smart, she's intelligent, but her brain's still kind of in second grade. So, but in talking about this, so I kept things in very short sentences and we got along great. And she would speak too fast and I would go, I'm old. I need to hear things slowly. So just speak slowly because I'm old and I want to hear you. What? Yes. If you speak a little slower, I can understand you and I won't ask you, what did you say? What did you say? So I very calm. I said, this is the reason I want you to. So she wanted me to understand. She goes, I had to talk slow around grandma before she died. And I said, well, I'm kind of like grandma and you need to speak slow with me because I want to hear you. What? Yeah, I want to listen to what you say. So now they're really interested. So, and so when she'd go to speak quickly, everybody else would go, now, how many times have we told you not to talk fast? I'd go, slow down. Oh. And I would just give her a nod and go like this. And she knew what it was. There was no long dissertation. So, but when you get the point across at a moment of clarity, and for her, she's smart enough. If I go back up there, she'll remember I'm the old Uncle Dave, and that I'm like grandma because she got that connection and she needs to speak slower so I can understand her because of my hearing. She got it. So the rest of the time she was there, everybody else, she'd be rattling on and rattling on. And she was talking to me, she'd slow down. So what did I do different? You know what I mean? It's how you approach them and don't, beat it up. You let them be the grown up, So if there were times when she was going a little fast, I would just look at her and go like this. I didn't say anything, but she knew I couldn't, I was trying to hear her. Oh, I'm going too fast. So when you put it in the other park, when you put that ball and they got it, when they have control over some of this, okay, Deocean, good to see you. Just pour yourself a cup or shut the fuck up and wait for people to calm down. Thank you. Very good. But anyway, so with this discussion of autism and people and stuff that have, and there are some people who are just rattle on all the time in their brains, and you have to be concise with them. If you go into a bunch of words and this and that and the other thing, and it's one of those things that I learned with people, just say what's necessary. Now, if you want to sit down and have a conversation with your kid or something, but if you're trying to get the point across or you're trying to teach a lesson, then you just stick to the basics. Very simple, very concise, and try to give them as much power as possible so they will feel empowered. So you say, well, whatever it is, say, well, I know you made it to Papa's house, and I'm proud of you for that. You proud of me? You proud of me? Yes, I am. I love you. But remember, what about next time? So you don't tell her, tell them, in this case, tell her. You don't tell her that what to do. You ask her. So what's next? So if you want to go, uh, what do you do next time? Well, I want to be a big girl. Yes, but what do you do? What do big girls do? So you don't tell them, you ask them to tell you. Why? Because now it makes them think. They have to wait. You're telling them, you're feeding them, you're repeating this stuff all the time to where they ain't freaking listening, right? But then when you put it back on them to where they have to think about it, which is what you want, right? So when they have to stop and think about it, so you go, well, okay, so then, but I'm a big girl. Okay, so what do big girls do? Well, big girls, we can walk to the yes, but what do big girls do before you go on the walk? So you direct their thoughts. What do big girls do, or big boys, or how you tell someone. So she was like, well, I'm a big girl and I don't have to tell anybody. And I looked at her and I said, I'm his big brother. I'm older than all your uncles, even your papa. And I tell people where I'm going. And she looked at me and she went, what? And I said, because if I was in a car accident, I would want someone to know that I was gone and that if I didn't come back. So, big people learn to tell other big people where they're going because, of accidents or weather or something could happen. And, so rather than tell her that, well, you got to do this, and this is the way. No, it's like, wait a minute, you're 17 and I'm 68. I tell people where I'm going. It's what grown-ups do. What? Because that's what she wants us to be, as grown-up. So you tell her, grown-ups tell each other where they're going. Esty says, my son's emotional being like 6 years behind. And thank you, Hawkeye. You know so much about this. I do know a lot about it because I've worked with children, I've worked with people, and these things work, you know. Now, there are times when they don't work, but here's the thing. If you start out when you change, I'm thinking about myself. When I made the change of how I spoke to people and how I respected them, and rather than tell them what to do or go, listen, we talked about this. What do you think you should do next? Well, I thought you did this and this and this, and you go, wait a minute, let's stop right there. Remember about this and this? Yeah. So they tell you what they think that the process is or whatever, or how to set up a machine. And so you listen to them before you, well, I thought I told you to do this. And I'm no, okay, so you let them. So as soon as you allow this dissertation, this conversation, guess what? It's still part of the original conversation of building bridges. Because in order to speak with people and to get onto their level and to understand and so forth, you build a bridge of discourse, of conversation, of of language, of understanding. And having my conversations with my grandniece, there were times when all I had to do was look and like point at an ear or and she would react without me saying a word. So there are a lot of ways to speak without using words. So when we realize this, and sometimes when we're talking to the kids, or the kids are, well, how many times have I told you? Think about what your face looks like. They're reading your face. Okay. They may not know it, but they're reading your face. So how many times have I told you, see, my face is all scrunched up and I told you, you're supposed to be, nah, that's not. So you look at him, you go, so how was that trip that you did? I understand you're trying to be a big girl now. That I'm a big boy, but I still tell people where I'm going. So what my facial expression, my tone of voice is all different. So I have disarmed the situation simply by my tone of voice, by my facial expression, which if I'm like, how many times have I told you, they're going to look at you and go, oh, there he goes again with that face. Good night, David. Yeah, it's past 4 a.m. here too. It's almost 4:20, a good place to quit. But in this understanding and how I get torn onto different conversations after 4 hours of being here, I swore to God I was only going to keep this simple. But in this understanding of behavior, when you just change how you present yourself to other people and you say, well, I ain't going to change for nobody. Well, then screw you. You're just going to get beat up a lot then. But when you realize that, wait a minute, maybe this is going to be to my benefit if I just, don't scrunch my face up around people. Instead of getting mad, I go, well, now that's a different approach. But now let's look at how this really should be done. How have you been doing? Well, I did it like this. Isn't that what you told me, Mr. Dave? No, but okay, let's go through this again then. What's the first step? And you put it right back on them. Well, it goes like this, right? Okay, but remember this. So you help them to remember, but you don't tell them. Because how are they going to learn if you don't put it in their ballpark? So, but anyway, in this understanding of things, it is all connected. But when you take notice of those tiny little things I was talking about before, those tiny little things in the universe, how you the tone of your voice, and you go, well, all right, Michelle, you know, remember last time? What, Mr. Dave? Well, how did you react the last time? Well, it made me pissed off. Now I'm making this up, Michelle, and I'm using you. I'm picking on you for a moment, but in that, well, have we discussed this before? Well, yeah, oh, I think we did. Well, what do you remember? Well, I remember it was like this. Okay. Now, let me help refresh your memory. It should be more like this. Tweak this little part right here. Oh, okay. So, having, so my conversation, if this would be, what do you remember? Tell me about it. And then let's tweak what you remember. Oh, well, I remember it was like this. Yeah, okay, but this is really what I meant. Oh, okay. So when you get that little bit of tweak, but you've already had some experience in trying it, you can see where the tweak makes sense. There's certain things that is like, oh, and it doesn't just come overnight. But I'm here to tell you that if you start using it, the change in you and the people around you will be miraculous. It'll just be like, what what happened? And it's, you know, you're just being you, but a calmer you, more together. You're still you. People say, well, what you have changed. Yeah, I've decided to just, that this feels better. I want to be like this more. And you don't have to explain anything. I mean, if you want to, you can. But people was like, Dave, man, your attitude's changed. Yeah, I realized that for whatever reason I was being mad all the time, and I just didn't need to be that way. And I just left it at that, but it was the truth. I always told the truth about it. But to that point, though, in the universe, and it is, oh, it's 4:21. I missed it. I damn sure did. 4:21 in the AM time here in Southwest Georgia. We got one more here. This bowl's lasted most of the night. And so I want to say good morning to everybody and good night, good morning. Yeah, this will be it for me too. But Michelle and Esty and anybody else, if you want me to do a video just on that behavioral kind of thing, like I've been talking about the last hour, let me know, because I do think it's very important. It is, if we all practiced it more between us in building the bridges of dialogue and to closing the gap, the world would just be in a better place. You know, it just would be, you know, because people wouldn't be hollering at each other and screaming. They'd go, "Oh, is that how you see that? Well, I learned about this. Interesting." And off you go. So I started this prayer about an hour ago, but I do continue to do it every day. Every day that I wake up and I put my feet on the ground, I continue to pray. This is number two. I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and all the many, many blessings from the universe on so many levels. And that you continue to reject the negative and the chaos that comes your way and still keep an open mind. I continue to pray third time's a charm, repeating it, there's no great harm. But I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And that you will continue to learn to reject the chaos that comes into our lives. So when we learn how to speak and we learn how to understand, we learn how to mingle and mix with the universe, the frequency and the crystals and the people and the energies that we find are just going to suit us better in this universe. And regardless of what happens in the universe, and if we leave this existence and go into another, we will have retained the knowledge of the frequency that we've learned in this life. We will get it in the next. Okay. So it ain't going to go to waste to learn about this stuff. So, Barry, Esty, thank you. Ian, David Castle's already out, I think. Michelle, I love you all. I do. Be safe, be kind. We're coming into Friday. It's already Friday, but have a good weekend coming up. And we will talk to you soon. So be safe. And from South Georgia, as always, I say cheers, Ween. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for hanging out. Um, and you know, and until next time, you know, be safe. Honestly, I'm. There are times when I feel my connection to the universe, and I just there are times, and I don't know if it's y'all's frustration, but there are some frustrations about things in the universe, and I just think to myself, you know, later to you as well, that we just need to stay calm. You know, thank you, Ian. Cheers, everybody, and be safe. Okay. And ciao for now. Bye. Cheers.